The moment this young man opened his eyes, the first thing that caught his sight was two tiny, chubby hands. Looking up a bit, he saw members of the Black Dan Can clan, all very young. He even saw Julie, his nanny since childhood. "Cheer up, young Master Jin," Julie said joyfully. Jin looked around and saw many swords stuck in the ground. The most prominent among them was Barasada, the sword of the first clan head. This situation was exactly like the selection ceremony when he was a child, and Jin instinctively crawled toward the Barasada sword. Jin quickly figured out the reason for this situation. It seemed he had transmigrated and returned to being Jin John Kandon at exactly 1 year old right here. In his previous life, Jin also chose the Founder's sword. However, contrary to hopes that he would grow to possess strong powers and lead the clan, Jin was a failure. He showed no talent in swordsmanship and was eventually kicked out of the Black Dan Can clan. Only when facing death did Jin learn the truth someone had cursed him with a lowly spell called the Illusion Sword. It was what swallowed his swordsmanship talent and turned Jin into a failure in the clan. Thinking of this, Jin crawled faster. Soon after, he reached the Barasada sword to the satisfaction of all clan members. Although this was no different from his previous life, this time he would hold his own destiny. After Jin chose the Barasada sword, he was taken back to the Thunder Marshal platform and began life there. 6 years flew by, and now Jin was 7 years old. According to clan rules, he had to live here until age 50. That meant 3 more years. Honestly, life here was extremely boring. Moreover, Jin still had to face the childish antics of his older brothers. This was no different from his previous life. For example, today, while seriously looking for a book to read, he suddenly heard a maid scream out loud. It turned out that while cleaning Jin's room, she saw a dying bird in a pitiful state covered in blood. Seeing the bird, Jin's face didn't change, because he knew the only ones who could do this in the Thunder Marshal platform were his brothers. As expected, shortly after the laughter of Datona and Haytona, the 9-year-old twins ranked 11th and 12th in the Black Dan Can family echoed. They were even disappointed that the maid, not their little brother, was the first to discover the bird. "So do you like the gift your brothers gave you? So touched you want to cry?" Jin kept staring at the bird without blinking, but recalled his past life. It was said that not long after Jin was kicked out of the clan, these two became notorious killers who treated human life like trash. Seeing how they cruelly treated an innocent bird just to pick a fight with him at age 9, Jin thought it wasn't surprising they turned into killers. "Hey, don't really cry, all right, it's scary." Haytona spoke gloomily, but Jin remained silent. "Hey, did you hear what we said? Or do you not need to care about us anymore since destiny chose you as clan leader?" Jin stayed silent. His attitude made the two 9-year-olds lose all patience. They decided to stop attacking him with words and resort to physical force. But just as Haytona lunged forward to punch Jin, his hand was grabbed and locked by his younger brother, 2 years his junior. "You guys are too noisy, shut up now." Haytona looked very surprised at his brother's cold expression without any effort. But the bigger surprise was yet to come because Jin returned a punch that flipped his face. One punch wasn't enough since he had put up with them from his previous life to this one. So now his anger finally exploded. Jin treated the twins like punching bags and kept hitting them relentlessly. After beating them flat on the ground, he was satisfied and left a warning. "It would be better if you never show your faces in front of me again, young master." What happened here? A knight named Khan suddenly rushed into the room. Jin immediately withdrew the remaining power in his hands. Khan looked at the unconscious twins on the ground, their clothes, disheveled faces swollen from being beaten. Meanwhile, Jin was neat and clean as if he had never been involved in the fight. "So did they just suddenly rush at each other and start fighting?" Yu replied. Of course, Khan doesn't believe those words. "What?" he asked again. "Didn't you hear what I said?" They suddenly rushed at each other and then passed out. Now the truth no longer matters. The moment Khan saw the cold expression on the face of that just-turned 7-year-old child, he realized that even the youngest master of the Black Dankan family was just as ruthless as anyone else. He nodded and said, "I understand," then picked up the twins intending to take them to see a doctor. But Jin stopped Khan. "No need, Khan. My brothers need to go somewhere else. Come with me." Khan hesitated but dared not disobey his young master's order. He carried the twins and went out with Jin. Outside at the thunderstorm arena, it was raining heavily. Jin ordered Khan to leave Datona and Haytona under a large tree, then to make a small grave for the little bird right in front of them. Seeing this scene, Khan looked uneasy. "Young Master Jin, do you really want to abandon them here? The storm is getting stronger." Jin's face did not change at all. He declared that his older brothers needed to endure this punishment to understand the severity of what they had done. Khan knew he could not change his decision. But earlier, he clearly sensed a strong energy from Jin that Khan was sure was not aura. Could it be Mana Khan, thought silently. If so, this was no longer a simple family-sibling quarrel. I need to report to the head of the family. Immediately after, Khan ordered his subordinates to bring a horse despite the heavy rain. But it seemed he intended to return to the Black Don Khan mansion right away. Actually, this was not unexpected for Jin. He knew well that Khan was not only a knight protecting the children at the Thunderstorm Arena, but also their supervisor. In Khan's eyes, Jin's energy was like magic, so he definitely could not let this go. But in fact, that was spiritual power, the only proof of the contract between Jin and Sodrit. Thanks to that power, he knew the contract was still valid in this life. Moreover, the immunity to the curse that Sodrit gave him through the contract helped him escape the illusion sword curse. In short, the useless, disabled son of the Black Rankan family was no more. This life, he was sure his life would be completely different from the last. And if so, the first thing to do was to go see father. Soon after, Khan met the head of the Black Rankan family and reported the whole incident and his suspicions to him. The head of the family was silent for a few seconds, then ordered Khan to gather the knights because he wanted to meet his youngest son himself. Before long, the elder sons of the Black Don Khan family in the vanguard gathered 7 in total, leading 200 knights under their command. "Then let's go to the Thunderstorm Arena," declared the head of the Black Don Khan family emphatically. The seriousness of the matter was that this order was an urgent summons for his elder sons. Because of that, each person carried a different mood. "Do you know anything about this first?" "I just asked Luna, but I bet she doesn't know anything either. It's so frustrating, still busy fighting those witches and then being called back like this," Mary Zancaden asked. She was the 7th child of the Zancaden family. "Next year, the Tona twins will leave the Thunderstorm Arena. Maybe father wants to go there because of this, or maybe to see our youngest brother," Devos answered calmly. He was the 4th son in the family. The youngest, At the 1-year-old selection ceremony, that kid chose the founder's sword of the family. How could you forget that? But is father really coming back just because of that? Well, you never know what father is thinking. They kept talking back and forth until Luna Zancan Black, the eldest daughter of the family name for both, silenced them. Mary didn't dare say anything more but kept staring at her father's back, endlessly wondering. She didn't understand why he had to go all the way to Thunderstorm Platform to meet Jin. Could that kid really be that extraordinary? Jin wasn't surprised at all that the head of the family came here. So when Julie was both surprised and excitedly fixing his clothes, Jin remained very calm. Jin knew Khan was foolish, so he probably wouldn't clearly tell the head of the family that Jin used magic, just describe what he saw. And that would become a big question mark, which is why the head of the family had to come personally to check what power besides swordsmanship and aura the youngest son could use, and also to see if that power or Jin himself could become a valuable asset for the clan's future. Just as Julie finished preparing, Jin, the head of the family, returned with the squad of knights he brought along. His presence was intimidating, but the first thing he did was not to meet his youngest son, but to order someone to bring the twins Detona and Haytona to stand before him. "Detona and Haytona, I heard you two got into a fight with Jin. Tell me who was at fault." These two kids were usually very arrogant, but standing before their father, they couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. Yet at this moment, they stubbornly said they were not at fault. Jin had injured them first. They even emphasized that Jin's power was very unusual, not aura, but like magic. Both of them knew very well that using magic was forbidden in the Black Can clan, so they tried to dig deeper into this. "That's right, father. If Jin uses magic, we must interrogate him quickly before he finds a way to hide it." Mary and Dyphus, standing beside them, only sighed in exasperation hearing this. Perhaps they all clearly understood how infamous and vicious these twins were. The two were even trying to frame Jin. But suddenly their father brushed them off. "Enough, listen carefully to this. If you keep that attitude, you won't survive in the Black Can clan." The twins looked surprised that their father didn't side with them. But he didn't intend to listen to their excuses anymore because his main purpose today was still to meet his youngest son. Soon after, the head of the family ordered his subordinate to bring Jin out. When he came out into the main hall, Jin saw the twins, Tona, grinding their teeth and glaring inwardly. This was no surprise. From his previous life, Jin knew his father, Karan Zancandan, was the strongest and also the most indifferent person. He was known as the Supreme Knight of the Demigod era. Before receiving those grand titles, he was just an ordinary man. However, after being honored, Karan gradually lost all worldly emotions, becoming a man who cared only about glory and the clan's future. So to him, those without swordsmanship talent like Jin in his previous life were worthless trash, not worth a dime. The twins were probably shocked witnessing their father's coldness. But that was nothing compared to what Jin had gone through in his previous life. Only this time it was different. In this life, no one could look down on him anymore, not even Karen Zankandon. Many eyes in the main hall were waiting for Jin. He had the appearance of a 7-year-old child, but the soul of a man nearly 30 years old. So naturally, he wasn't scared by the situation. Jin opened the door to the main hall and stepped in calmly. Then he knelt before his father, asking to perform the rite of clan head. This time, Karen was the one surprised when he heard his youngest son call him clan head instead of father. With all the older siblings, many guards, and over 100 clan members present, you must know today. Father came here for the clan's affairs. I think calling you clan head fits better, Jin explained. This answer came from the mouth of a 7-year-old, surprising everyone. Karen was also quite pleased, though he showed no expression outside. But today I come with a different purpose, so you may call me father. I will ask you the same question as your siblings. Where do you think you are wrong? Jin clenched his fist tightly. Then, in front of more than 200 people present in the Great Hall, he declared firmly that he did it only to seek revenge. Seeing this remarkable scene, Mary couldn't help but smirk. She felt that the youngest boy in the family looked pretty formidable. Father, as a member of the Kanden clan, we repay kindness and revenge enmity. We repay kindness if there is kindness and must repay if there is hatred, Jin said. His answer left Karen silent for about 5 seconds. Then he ordered everyone to leave, leaving only the youngest son behind. The knights exchanged suspicious glances, silently wondering if the youngest master had passed the clan leader's test. No one dared to guess Karen's thoughts, but they all felt that Jin daring to confront his father was quite something. After only 2 people remained in the Great Hall, Karen said, I told everyone to leave because I have a private matter to discuss with you. The Tona twins told Father that you have an extraordinary power. Our Kanden clan forbids the use of magic because once you touch it, you can no longer reach the peak of swordsmanship. So what power have you used? Karen also threatened Jin that if he dared to use magic, he definitely wouldn't let it go. But Jin knew he'd be fine. Even when his father learned about this power, he wouldn't be able to turn away. And so in front of Karen, Jin revealed the power Salderest granted him through their contract. Father, I don't know what it is either. I'm not sure if it's magic or aura. If you don't mind, Father, I ask you to help identify this power for me. Karen couldn't help but widen his eyes as he looked at the power appearing in his son's palm, because he realized it was the power belonging to the founder of the Kanan clan. Seeing the dark power surging from his youngest son, combined with the fact that since he was 1 year old, he chose Baricella's sword. Karen Zankandon couldn't help but wonder if this meant the boy was truly destined to become the clan's heir. Seeing Karen's stunned, Jin quietly reminded Father, my power belongs to the dark god Salderess. Karen replied, although he knew his power was granted by Salderess, this was the first time Jin understood that entity held the title of Dark God. According to his father, many years ago, Salderess signed a contract with the founder of the Zankandon clan, Lord Tema, and had sided with this clan since then. But because Tema passed away shortly after, Salderess no longer appeared at Zankandon for subsequent generations. Karen didn't know the reason for this, but felt that now Salderess was once again trying to connect with the Zankandon clan, this time through Jin. Father, I'm curious about something, Jin shyly asked. Is that god stronger than you? Karen hesitated for a moment, then said he didn't know because he had never fought a god. Hearing this, a crooked smile appeared on Jin's face. Never fought a god. That's definitely the most arrogant answer I've ever heard. But then suddenly Karen reached out and patted Jin's head in a puzzling way. My child? That's a good question. Thanks to your innocent question, I've just found a great topic to talk about. I think coming to visit you today was definitely the right decision. Then Karen asked Jin back, how do you want to use Salderath's dark energy? Of course, someone who has lived a lifetime like Jin knew how to answer this question wisely. So he said he wanted to use that power for the benefit of the clan. He thought his father would be pleased with this answer, but suddenly he burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, what a ridiculous lie. You knocked your brothers out cold and threw them into the storm, and now you say you want to use this power for the clan. Now tell me the truth. Karen certainly wouldn't let this go easily. Jin clenched his fists again, looking a bit tense. Then he firmly said, I want to use this power for myself. Innocent but serious, face voice firm and resolute. Karen, with his sharp, hawk-like gaze, scrutinized his son for a long moment before replying, all right, I like that answer. From now on, I will watch you very closely. After speaking, Karen walked straight ahead until she was sure she was alone in the vast land. Jin finally dared to exhale. Standing in front of Father was really stressful, but he guessed he had safely passed the first hurdle. He had received permission to use dark energy as he wished. At the same time, it made Father place great expectations on him. This was an unexpected result for Jin. who in his previous life wasn't even noticed by Karen after she realized he had no talent for swordsmanship. The later it got at night, the heavier the rain became. Before the knight's group left, Mary stayed behind and gave Jin a gift, saying it was a special present for the youngest boy. Cook it well thoroughly and get stronger fast, okay? Mary left those instructions with a sly smile. Then she left with Diff first. After returning to the Thunder Arena, Jin and Julie opened the box Mary had given him. To their surprise, inside was a blazing red phoenix heart. Jin couldn't even imagine this situation. Giving a phoenix heart to a 7-year-old kid is truly a crazy thing that only Mary could do. Marie Zancaden, Jin's 7th older sister, is a 6-star knight also known as Winfrey, but she has another nickname few know, the Mad Woman of the Southern Territory. The reason this fighting sister gave Jin the phoenix heart seemed clear. It was to remind him to grow strong quickly and be worthy of being her rival. If you eat this from a young age, you won't just gain fire resistance. It's also an elixir that boosts strength. As he grew up, Jin recalled that this was also quite useful since it's necessary for a 6-star mage to safely summon a phoenix. Jin still planned to secretly practice magic and hoped that in this life he would summon a phoenix. Not long after, Julie brought up a bowl of soup made from the phoenix heart. Earlier she seemed panicked, but after calming down she realized that Lady Mary had given her young master a wonderful gift. Jin originally planned to start his dinner, but the hungry looks from the twin siblings Tona made it hard for him to swallow. Brothers, if you have something to say it quickly here. Tona and Detona seemed embarrassed, but trading their pride for a taste of Phoenix Heart was definitely worth it. So they began to gently plead as if the matter of that poor bird had never happened before. Well, nothing really. But it seems this meal is too much for you to eat alone, huh? That's right, I saw Julie bring a big bowl up. Do you want to eat it? Jin easily saw their intent and seemed to be just waiting to say this line. The twins nodded eagerly. You can eat it if you want, but you have to follow my request. So that night Jin made the two of them dig a tunnel not far from the Thunder Arena. The two dug while wiping sweat and cursing. Why? Why do we have to do this? That's right, there's nothing here, so why do we have to do this? And what if someone sees us digging it? What are you talking about? If someone finds out the youngest gets punished, not us. You're right. We just follow what he says to get to eat the Phoenix Heart soup. But hasn't the youngest been a bit scary lately? Despite wiping and wiping, both didn't stop digging just for a piece of Phoenix Heart. And perhaps they didn't expect that the spot they were diligently digging was right outside a secret chamber. Inside was the body of a mysterious man being preserved very carefully. It wasn't until midnight that the twins returned exhausted and disheveled. Just looking at them showed how tired they were to the point of being drenched in sweat, and the only thing they wanted now was the soup. Jean had finished eating and saved portions for his two older brothers, but he only gave each of them a single spoonful. Tona and Detona looked at each other. Their anger flared up fiercely. Just one spoonful, little brother. Isn't that too little? I said I would give you, but I never said how much. But I kept my promise right. So enjoy your meal, Jin replied calmly. The two kids fumed with anger, but still had to thank him for the mere 2 spoonfuls of soup. As for Jin, he achieved his goal by making those two work almost as unpaid laborers. The rain was still pouring heavily. Jin put on another jacket and headed to the tunnel that his two older brothers had just dug. It seemed like the Phoenix Heart soup really had an allure because Jin originally thought they would dig sloppily, but in reality they did a great job. The cave entrance appeared before him, and with this thickness, even a 1-star spell would be enough to break through it. Jin looked left and right to make sure no one was following him. He had once felt helpless because his mana was steadily increasing, but he couldn't do anything with it. Finally today, he had a chance to release a little of it. Jin's surging magical power immediately shattered the cave entrance. Before him was a large door. It was the entrance to the Zancaden clan's secret storage room. In his previous life, he never had the chance to enter here. So standing before this door, Jin felt a bit nervous. To open the door, a password was required. Jin recalled his previous life's memory, took a deep breath, and said, "The child of Zancaden has come to command Murakan." With a loud rumble, the gate shifted and opened before Jin's eyes. The Zancaden secret storage room was where the clan kept secret books from families they had defeated over thousands of years. Inside was very spacious. Normally, only the clan's vanguard team consisting of the adult sons of the Zancaden family with sword skills were allowed in. In his previous life, Jin didn't have that privilege, but one of his older brothers had revealed quite a bit about this room because he thought Jin wouldn't be able to enter anyway. Yet now it had become the key that allowed him to break into this room, even though he wasn't old enough. Once inside, the first thing that caught Jin's eye was the mysterious man placed inside a giant glass jar. When he got closer, he could see many small black scales on the man's face. This made Jin doubt whether he was human, and why something like this existed in the Zancandan clan's secret storage. Suddenly, Jin remembered the password to enter this room. The child of Zancandan has come to command Murakan. A thought flashed through Jin's mind. Don't tell me this is the Black Dragon Murakan. He heard that the Black Dragon Murakan had been defeated by the first head of the Zancandan clan and fell into a deep slumber. But Jin had never really believed that story was true. After observing the man for a long time, Jin felt this wasn't the moment to focus on him. So he turned back to his main purpose, searching for the secret books. Jin had no idea that the moment he turned away, the fingers of Black Dragon Murakan slightly twitched. Finally, he entered the room filled with secret books from all kinds of clans. First, he tried looking for the Kunin clan's records, since they were also a family of swordsmen. After reading for a while, Jin felt this was quite difficult compared to 3-star magical theory. He wanted to take it back to study slowly, but that would be too risky. So Jin took out the blank notebook he had prepared beforehand. He decided to copy part of the secret books each time he came here. For the next few days, Jin quietly went back and forth between Thunder Dance Arena and the secret storage room. Until one day, while copying secret books, he heard footsteps behind him. Jin jumped up anxiously. He thought someone had discovered his comings and goings from the secret room. When he opened the door to peek outside, a pair of sharp eyes and a tall figure appeared in the doorway, freezing Jin with fear. Hey, who are you? Jin was so tense he forgot to breathe. The Black Dragon Murakan had actually awakened. In his previous life, he had never heard of Murakan awakening, so now he didn't know how to react in this situation. Though scared, Jin forced himself to stay calm. After all, Murakan was the guardian dragon of the Black Clan, so Jin thought he might be spared if he showed respect and behaved like a child. Child of the Black Clan, greetings to the clan's guardian, Jin said with a slightly trembling voice. Then he even heard Murakan's teeth grinding. How dare you call me guardian? Did you just call me your clan's guardian? How dare you treat me like a lousy guardian, you damn Kanden brat? How dare you talk about me like that? And I can't even get mad at a kid like you, but you're driving me crazy. Murakan's voice pierced Jin's eardrums. It seems that Jin, treating the Black Dragon Murakan as a gatekeeper god, offended him. After yelling loudly for a while, Murakan got so tired, he squatted down, breathing heavily in frustration. It's been a long time since I've smelled something fragrant, and the only thing I found is a child. Then Murakan suddenly got close to Jin, making him afraid to even breathe hard. Why do you have the scent of dark energy? Even though I have slept for 1,000 years, I still remember this scent clearly. And this special dark energy scent should only belong to someone with a contract like Tema. The Tema Murakan just mentioned is the ancestor who founded Jin's clan. Murakan's words seemed to awaken Jin. Could the reason he woke up be because your dark energy affected him? Of course, Murakan didn't think a kid like Jin could have made a contract with Sadrit. So he started using his dragon nose sharp like a dog's to sniff around the room, trying to find the source of the dark energy scent. Jin was a bit tense. He didn't know if he should try because Murakan's attitude toward Sadrit's power was still unclear. But after a moment, Jin decided to take the risk. Well then, Lord Murakan, is this what you're looking for? My father said this power comes from the dark god Sadrit. Murakan stared at the power orb appearing in Jin's palm. Then he started trembling. Hey Sadrit, are you kidding me? No, are you serious? That 1,000-year pact is with this kid? Both Jin and Murakan fell into deep thought. After a while, Murakan spoke again. Hey fool, I mean Lord Murakan. Jin obediently replied, You know I actually made a promise with Sadrit, and it seems you need to cooperate with me to fulfill it. Murakan said he would explain the details to Jin later. Because he just woke up from a 1,000-year sleep, his mind couldn't think straight. Besides, he didn't think Jin could fully understand the situation since he was still too young. But anyway, he felt he should officially introduce himself to the one who made a contract with Sadrit. So Murakan slowly stood up. His body began to transform. I am Murakan, representative of Sodrit, his friend and the last descendant of the first dark creature. According to the 1,000-year pact, from now on I will accompany you. Murakan's true form appeared before Jin. He trembled slightly with emotion. Just now, Jin had feared that Murakan and Sodrit were enemies. In that case, he might have called the one with Sodrit's power his enemy. But no, he is Sodrit's friend, not an enemy. So you were absolutely right. Tell me your name. You made a contract with Sadrit. Jinjan Den. Jin finally managed a satisfied smile. I am the 13th child and the youngest of the Jinjan Den clan. It's an honor to accompany you, Lord Black Dragon Murakan. As a legendary creature, Mount Murakan, the sanctuary of the wild winds, is named after this creature. He ruled here long ago, but 1,000 years ago, Murakan was defeated in a battle against Tema Zancandan. History records that after the Thunderdance Terrace was destroyed, Murakan fell into hibernation. But after meeting Murakan, Jin felt the historical records were not entirely accurate. It seems those who make contracts with gods like Tama or yourself cooperate with a dragon. Though there are still many mysteries, fate helped Jin become a companion of the Black Dragon Murakan. It's definitely a good thing. The next day, Jin returned to the secret room and brought him a box of food. Since they would be spending much time together, Jin began asking about things he was curious about. The first question was about the battle between Murakan and Jin's ancestor Tema long ago. But it seemed that because so much time had passed and Murakan had been asleep so long, his mind was foggy, and he remembered nothing. After several times like this, Jin could only be sure of one thing about this creature. He was crazy about the strawberry cakes Jin brought him. Murakan also began to wonder why Jin went to the storage room every day to secretly copy various secret books. "You probably understand a little bit about these things, right?" he asked. "Only about 30%, the rest I don't understand." Jin sighed. "Don't give up hope. For a child your age, 30% is already too much. Other kids can't do that because they're too lazy." Murakan reassured him. But Jin didn't feel any happier because Murakan was just comparing him to ordinary kids while he was a child from a clan that controlled half the continent. In his family, there were 12 older siblings, plus his parents and elders. If he wanted to surpass them, Jin had to try even harder. Murakan, if someone is the founder of a clan, how much could he understand about these books? Jin suddenly asked, because he wanted to know how he compared to the individual considered the strongest in humanity. And Murakan's answer surprised him. "Tama, I don't think he understood a single line in these books when he was your age." But theory isn't always right because Murakan remembers Tama rarely read books but still fought very well. And he bluntly said that although Jin had potential like Tama, he was not as good as his ancestor. Jin had hoped, but after hearing this he became sad. "So I will never be as great as the clan founder." Murakan looked at him for a while, then patted Jin's head. "No. You are the one who signed a contract with Saudarate like Tama, and you are smart enough to read those secret books. You are still very young, so don't rush and just train diligently. Then you will become as strong as Tama, maybe even surpass him." Murakan's words were not just a comfort, but were completely true because Saudare, the god of darkness who granted Jin his power, also had the nickname Infinite. His power had no limits. Therefore, Jin, since you signed with Saudare, also have no limits. Of course, in Murakan's eyes, since Jin was still a child, it was hard to avoid feeling down on the path forward. So, he decided to teach Jin a new technique to help him be happier how to release the dark energy inside him. Murakan said, "All creatures who can control dark energy must get used to it, but it will be extremely dangerous if you don't study properly. So Jin must learn slowly and seriously." Jin obediently asked, "So, Mr. Murakan, what should I do first, sir?" "First, you have to learn how to unlock mana." "Why?" Jin wondered. He thought Sodare's dark power had nothing to do with magical power, but Murakan said the first thing he had to learn was unlocking mana. Moreover, in his previous life, he had done this many times. Releasing dark energy means unlocking and moving your mana. You must know how to perform both of these smoothly. From now on, you will have to practice this for 2 to 3 years. Jin frowned slightly. 2 to 3 years. For someone eager to become stronger quickly like him, that was too long. Meanwhile, Murakan kept talking. "You don't even know the basics, so I can't teach you anything too advanced. In short, the next thing you need to learn is unlocking your mana." But just as he said this, a magic orb appeared in Jin's palm, and his expression remained calm as if it was no big deal. "Like this right now, can you teach me more advanced things?" Murakan was extremely surprised. He bent down to observe the magic orb carefully and kept asking Jin how he managed to do this. Of course, Jin couldn't say he had been reincarnated, and this was a skill he had unlocked in his previous life. So he just gave a vague answer to get through it. In Murakan's eyes, he had become a genius among geniuses. Then he decided to demonstrate for Jin what releasing dark energy really meant. Jin had achieved his goal of luring Murakan to teach him how to master dark energy, so he was very happy. Although Murakan had slept for 1,000 years, it seemed his power had not diminished at all. Dark energy, as the name suggests, originates from darkness, and all darkness in this world was born from Sodaret. Conversely, Sodaret is the master of all the darkness in the world, and currently, Jin is the only one who has a contract with him. So in other words, you are also the master of all the darkness in this world. Murakan said this as he unleashed his enormous dark energy. The feeling was overwhelming but made Jin very excited. Time passed as Jin busily learned to control Sodare's power, but his older siblings were far from idle. For example, eldest sister Luna was on a mission to clear monsters from a vast area. According to reports from the knights under her command, Luna's team had only 5 more areas to clean up before the mission would be complete. Then 4 months is enough, Luna estimated silently, telling the knights, "Take a rest." Then she suddenly remembered something and asked her subordinate, "By the way, what does a 9-year-old kid usually like?" Half a year later, fate brought Jin to meet Murakhan. The Tona twins had finally reached the age to leave the Thunder Arena, escaping Jin's grasp. They looked very relieved, and after those two left, Jin felt much less annoyed. Not long after, Julie, along with the servants, organized Jin's 9th birthday party. Just as they prepared to cut the cake, Khan hurried over to announce that young lady Luna had arrived to visit. Luna's visit to celebrate Jin's 9th birthday surprised him greatly because everyone knew how busy the eldest Kanden sibling and a 9-star knight was. Luna had a nickname, the White Whale, probably because of her platinum blonde hair. Though the strongest among the Kanden siblings, she had no interest in becoming clan chief. So Luna had long left the muddy swamp called the Succession War behind. In Jin's eyes, this sister was truly a lone white whale. Because of this, Luna never paid attention to any of her younger siblings. Her relationship with the 12 younger siblings was more like shallow water than deep blood ties. In their past lives, Jin and Luna were no exception. Yet today, on Jin's birthday, that sister decided to come to the Thunder Arena without any prior notice. At first, Jin thought something big must have happened to the family, or that Luna had discovered his secret visits to the family's hidden room. But when the siblings faced each other, the first thing Luna said was, "You've grown so much, little one. If I had known you were coming, I would have dressed better." Jin replied, "That's cute." Luna stepped forward and patted Jin's head. "Do I really need to give notice before visiting my youngest brother?" This action and words from Luna were totally unlike her usual demeanor, which surprised Jin greatly. His expression accidentally caught Luna's eye, making her think Jin looked unwell and tired. "Are you sick?" "No?" Jin quickly shook his head. "Actually, I'm a bit nervous because this is the first time I've faced you so closely. I don't know why, but I feel restless this time." Luna was slightly stunned. The Kanden family tradition was that siblings always kept watch, guarded against, and even trampled on each other. Jin, thinking she came to check on him and feeling worried, wasn't really strange. A sad feeling rose in Luna's heart. She clenched her hands for a long moment before speaking. "Yes, it seems I still lack consideration. You may be young, but I forgot that you are also a child of the Kanden family." Then Luna suddenly knelt down to Jin's eye level and said she had something private to tell him. Jin understood immediately and sent the bodyguard's maids and even Julie out. Though not knowing why Luna was acting so strange, it seemed it wasn't anything bad. When only the two of them remained in the room, Luna became more serious. She said, "Last time when Karen Zancaden visited her youngest child, his behavior attracted the attention of all the other siblings. It also means that another year from now, when Jin is old enough to leave the Thunder Arena, he will become a target for the older siblings, little one." Luna said with a heartfelt tone, "I hope you won't lose your own happiness by getting involved in the clan battle. I sincerely hope you won't be hurt by the traditions of the Black Clan." Hearing Luna's words, Jin didn't know how to respond at once. Could it be that the reason she gave up the position of clan leader was simply that, and if she didn't want Jin to be involved in conflicts with the older siblings, why didn't she warn him even once in the past life? Was it because back then he wasn't worth Luna's attention? Or because the others simply didn't see him as a rival? But no matter the reason, Jin could still feel Luna's sincerity as she sat right in front of him like this. Jin gently patted Luna's hand that was tightly holding his. "Sister Luna, I really appreciate what you said, but I absolutely have no intention of staying out of this battle." "Jin, I'm serious. I'm not saying that just because you might have to face me." "I know, sister, but I've already survived one assassination attempt. That's why I absolutely can't avoid this mud pit." Actually, the assassination Jin mentioned was the illusion sword curse which had been lifted in the previous life. When Luna heard this, her eyes widened, her expression showing great surprise. Then it turned into anger. Jin could even feel the fierce aura radiating from his sister who dares to try to kill you right here in the Thunder Arena. Tell me, Jin, who wants to take your life? The Thunder Arena was a place protecting the Black Clan children from being eliminated too early in the struggle for clan leadership. So hearing her younger brother, who had never left the arena, say that he was assassinated, Luna's fury was justified. "To be fair, I haven't found out who it was yet, but I'm okay," Sister Jin reassured her. "Besides, not all of the older siblings hate me. Aren't you one of them? Thank you for telling me that. I'm truly happy from the bottom of my heart." Seeing a 9-year-old child speak with such maturity like an adult, Luna felt even more heartbroken. She didn't know what else to say but hugged Jin and kept stroking his head. This was the first time he realized Luna could be so warm, so he hugged her tightly back, enjoying this rare feeling of family closeness. "All right, today is a happy day. We shouldn't talk about these things." After letting Jin go, Luna took out a box from her chest. She said that her main purpose for coming today was actually to give Jin a gift. Inside the box was a necklace with a blue stone, but it wasn't an ordinary gemstone. Luna instructed him, "Whenever you face something you can't handle alone, just break the blue gem on this necklace. I will immediately come back to you. So always keep it with you." Luna helped Jin put it around his neck and carefully reminded him, "Happy 9th birthday, my little brother." Then Julie brought a piece of cake. The two siblings ate cake together, chatting like normal brothers and sisters. After a while, Luna reluctantly left. That night, Jin went to the clan's secret storage room again. Moroccan saw him and shouted, "Why are you late today, and what's that thing wrapped around your neck?" "It's my birthday gift." Jin replied, "That person must really care about you to give you something like that." Moroccan trembled excitedly while pointing at the gem. Seeing his strange expression, Jin asked more. Then he learned that this blue gem was a relic of the Demon King organ from more than 1,000 years ago. Countless people risked their lives just to get one of his relics. This thing is magical, in that it grants the wearer resistance against magic attacks of 5 stars or less, boosts the wearer's magical power, and even has summoning abilities. Moroccan knew this well because he was an old man who lived in Organ's era. "This must have been given to you by someone with strong energy, right?" Moroccan asked. "Yes, my eldest sister stopped by." "Wait. You can sense her energy from all the way here." John handed Moroccan the birthday cake, then asked with surprise, "Exactly, she must have sensed me too." That statement of his made Jin very worried. "You're afraid Luna will report this to the clan, but Moroccan thinks you're worrying for nothing because the person who can give you the Demon King Organ's relic surely won't betray you and leave you to be torn apart by the clan." Jin felt what he said made sense. Moroccan also said that among Jin's brothers, Luna was the one he could trust. Just as Moroccan said at the Thunder Arena, Luna had sensed an unprecedented energy. At the same time, she guessed that her youngest sibling was planning something. She just felt she should pretend to know nothing. That day, Luna also made a decision: no matter what Jin becomes or does in this clan battle, she will always stand by her youngest sibling. Another year passed quickly. The time at Thunder Dance Stage that Jin once thought would be boring actually brought him many things: recognition and expectations from Karen the Phoenix Heart. That Mary brought a close relationship with Luna, and even a meeting with Moroccan the Dragon Clan warrior. Those were things he hadn't even dared to dream of in his previous life. And now he is preparing to leave Thunder Dance Stage and return to the main castle. During training sessions with Khan, Jin was always diligent and serious. After several sessions, Khan understood why he was the most cared for among the 13 children. Although Khan acted as the evaluator during training, Jin's gaze seemed to say that he was the one judging Khan's teaching ability. That's why when today's lesson ended, Khan did something he had never done with any other young master. "Young Master Jin, it is my greatest honor to teach you. Soon you will leave Thunder Dance Stage, but I promise to do my best to teach you until the very last moment." Saying these words, Khan bowed respectfully. "Please take care of me until then." Time passed again. Finally, tomorrow, Jin would leave Thunder Dance Stage. Today, while Julie was packing, he was playing with a candle. Even though he burned his finger on the flame, Jin did not feel any heat. It seemed Mary's gift was starting to take effect. He thought he had absorbed about half the medicinal power of the Phoenix Heart and would absorb the rest in the next few years. While cleaning, Julie mentioned she was preparing strawberry cake for Jin's snack. This suddenly reminded him that Moroccan was still in the storage room. Even though it was night, Jin found an excuse to go out for a walk and ran straight here. Actually, Jin had already mentioned to Moroccan that he was about to leave Thunder Dance Stage. It seemed he was also excitedly waiting for this day. "How do you plan to follow me?" Jin asked. Moroccan, like a peacock, spreading his tail, bragged, "Don't make it such a big deal. I am the legendary Black Dragon. Even if I've gotten weaker, this little thing is nothing. I guarantee I can follow you without anyone noticing." "Wait! You've become weaker. Why didn't you tell me something so important?" After a long time knowing each other, Jin now dared to talk back to Moroccan, instead of bowing and calling him sir. "Kid, how so? I can still be fine after sleeping soundly for 1,000 years. Luckily, Moroccan said his strength could still recover. As for Jin, he would become stronger than Moroccan because Moroccan is his guardian lineage. So hurry up and become a strong magical swordsman like Tama. Moroccan added, "Speaking of which, the Black Clan used to be a magical swordsman clan, not just pure swordsmen like now." He had also heard Sodare mention this before. In his previous life, his clan originally came from a magical swordsman family, and the first clan leader, Temazan Khandan, was the most powerful magical swordsman in history. Nowadays, almost no one knows this truth anymore. Murakhan also said the reason the Black Clan abandoned magic and pursued pure swordsmanship was due to a vow made 1,000 years ago. Father, even though they honor me as the clan guardian, I'm sure they would be very uncomfortable if I showed up. Look! Murakhan began lamenting. If this were 1,000 years ago, I'm sure both you and I would be worshipped as the highest existence in this world. Seeing Murakhan talk endlessly like this, it's clear only Jin worries about the two of them leaving Thunderdance stage together. He even considered creating an illusion with Dragon Clan magic so others would still see him sleeping soundly in that giant glass jar when they came here. What if your illusion is discovered? Excuse me, you just wanted to be sure, but it seems you've hurt the pride or ego of this dragon. Hey, I am the great black dragon, got it? Illusions are easy to handle, so don't worry. It's just because Murakhan hasn't fully recovered his strength, so it's uncertain. How long the illusion I create will last, he only promised to keep it as long as possible, so that if he gets discovered later and disappears from the storage room, people won't suspect this has anything to do with Jin. Hearing Murakhan say that, Jin finally felt a bit more reassured. The main matter was settled. He then took out a box of strawberry cakes that Murakhan loved, and a bottle of strawberry wine he had brewed himself. Murakhan's eyes instantly lit up. What did you bring, kind boy who raised you? It's really worth it. Early the next morning, Julie carefully put a coat on Jin and then led him to the city gate. Over the years, Julie had seen how hard Jin trained here, but life in the main castle would be much harsher and busier, so she couldn't help but worry. Julie, don't worry, I will do my best at the main castle, Jin reassured her. Yes, I will devote myself fully for you. Just as they spoke, the escort team arrived. Knights Jerome and Hose were responsible for safely escorting Jin to the main castle called the Garden of Swords. So on October 30th, 1790, Jin finally left the Thunderstorm Arena to head to the main territory of the Black Khandan family. Officially stepping into this bloody family civil war, the carriage hadn't traveled far when heavy snow began to fall. Julie said that the road might quickly become snowed over, so they had to stop at some village and wait for the snow to stop. Because if the snow piled up too much, the teleport gate couldn't be used. Just then, the carriage suddenly shook violently. Jerome and Hose shouted that they were under ambush. Please, stay inside the carriage. Julie immediately held Jin tightly and reassured him, Don't worry, it will be fine. Jerome and Hose are 7-star knights, and I'm here too. According to Julie's observation, the enemy numbered about 20, apparently witches and warriors. Most likely with archers too, and probably none exceeding 7-star power. But when he looked out the carriage window, Jin saw both knights were fully focused on fighting. Jin's face immediately turned pale. Julie, let's get out of here. Julie seemed not to fully understand Jin's attitude, but he had already sensed something was off. The Ran Khandan family's guards are never allowed to neglect protecting the Ran Khandan bloodline under any circumstances. So no matter how many enemies there are, at least one of those two should stay beside Jin. But both charged into battle, which means one of them has betrayed or is an imposter, or possibly neither is actually on their side. There must be weapons hidden inside this carriage. We have to get out. Seeing Jin's serious expression, Julie didn't hesitate. Normally, she was just a gentle nanny, but in truth, she was a warrior. In this situation, Julie had no choice but to risk herself to protect the heir. From her sleeve, 2 weapons shaped like wolf claws sprang out, and Julie's expression changed drastically from her usual gentle demeanor. I will protect you as a member of the Khandan family. If I overstep, please forgive me, young master. Then Julie tore open the carriage roof with her weapons and leapt out holding Jin. They ran like the wind through the heavy snow, but after some distance, Jin said he wanted to return to the ambush spot to check, because maybe those so-called enemies were actually his allies. If they really wanted to kill him, they should have struck the moment they left the carriage. But now the situation was strangely quiet. Julie nodded, indicating she understood, then took him back. There, a one-eyed man was busy giving orders. Quick, find Jinjan Khandan 3rd Squad block the left wing. As they approached, Jin and Julie saw the demonic and black peach symbols on the men's bodies and cloaks. They represented the Mattel magic family and the Black King mercenary squad. Over there, Julie MC Loran has been found, and Jin Zankander too. The one-eyed man immediately jumped down from above to block the two of them. He was Murakhan, captain of the Black King mercenary squad, acting under orders from the Zankandan family to rescue the young heir. Meanwhile, the two who called themselves Jerome and Jose had clearly revealed their fake identities. Because if they really were the 7-star bodyguards of the Black Dan Can family, they wouldn't be struggling like this against these people. Who exactly are you? What's your purpose? Julie shouted. Jerome laughed mockingly and asked, Who has time to answer a bunch of dogs from the Zancandan family? Although Morikon and his teammates would surely control the situation since the Master Jin was present, his opinion was the most important. Jin showed no mercy and ordered Julie to kill one to clear some space. The other was to have his hands cut off and be brought before him. Julie seemed to have just switched on her battle mode. She charged at Jerome like a messenger from hell. Then she took him down with just 2 basic moves. The remaining man Jose saw the Black Dan Can family's caretaker was even stronger than a warrior and turned pale with fear. He didn't have time to resist before Julie mercilessly cut off both his arms. Losing both arms, Jose lost his balance. He immediately fell flat on the snowy ground. Julie grabbed his hair and dragged him to Jin. Your master seems to have underestimated his opponents. To serve the Black Dan Can family, you have to be at least 7-star level. Jin mocked. So next time you want to assassinate a Black Dan Can child, you should at least be 8-star level. Stop babbling. This is only the beginning. The time for the Black Dan Can family's fate is coming soon. Jose shouted bitterly. Ha! I want that too! I have no interest in the term Black Dan Can Empire. I only like the Jin Dan Can Empire. When he said this, his eyes were especially fierce, making even Morikon speak frankly. But Jose seemed like a man who wasn't afraid to die. So he stubbornly said, Bastard, bow before Zippo. The name Zippo Full of Grudges was of course well known to Jin. That was the Chudan witch clan ruling half the world. If the John Condon clan was famous for supreme swordsmanship, the Zippo clan was known for reaching the pinnacle of magic. 1,000 years ago, when Temajan Kandon died, Zippo issued a humiliating demand that the John Kandon clan strip magic from their clan's power, and so the magic of John Kandon was sealed. Therefore, to the John Kandon clan, the Zippo clan has been a 1,000-year enemy, and vice versa as well. No wonder Jin wondered why anyone dared to act so arrogantly toward him. It turned out they were followers of the Zippo clan, so interrogating him was useless. Jin ordered Julie to dump Jose somewhere to let him fend for himself. Of course, since the John Kandon clan was a lifelong enemy, the Zippo clan always conspired to terrorize them. However, this incident probably wasn't orchestrated by the Zippo clan, but by their followers acting on their own. But Jin felt it was strange because no matter how well disguised these rats were, it was hard to fool a 7-star technician like Julie. So he suspected someone must have been involved. Julie completed the mission and returned quickly. Jin then turned to Mukera. This time, his successful escape was thanks to him and his teammates diverting the 2 imposters' attention away from him. Therefore, Jin promised that after returning to John Kandon Castle, he would report their merits so they could be rewarded accordingly. Yes, I will do my best, Mukera replied, his voice a bit stammering. He really couldn't believe that everything that happened was directed by a 10-year-old child. Jin was confident and much more mature than his age. Moreover, after this ordeal, he remained calm as if nothing had happened. Mukera unconsciously recalled Jin's words earlier that he was building the Jin Zancandan Empire. He couldn't help but admire him, thinking these weren't empty words but something Jin was seriously pursuing. After all, this was a matter for his own clan. Mukera could only sigh. Then he instructed his subordinates to be absolutely careful with every action before the teleportation gate was fully set up. Don't do anything reckless, sir. Captain, your demands are so unreasonable. Since when do we have to worry about these things? The Black King's members were very puzzled. Just follow my orders in an orderly manner. Mukera replied, inwardly criticizing these people as short-sighted. They seemed to have no idea how terrifying that 10-year-old child really was. At this time, Julie had finished adjusting Jin's outfit. Because the carriage was broken, the group had to walk to the nearest village. A few people were somewhat concerned about Jerome and Jose, but Jin told them not to worry about those 2. Whether they were found alive or dead, it was already a warning to their comrades. The snow was falling thicker and thicker. Mukera's group said it would take about 2 more hours to reach a village. But Jin didn't complain. He only focused on Julie's sad expression. So he had to comfort her again, telling her not to dwell on what happened during the escort. Julie, it's not your fault. Even a 9-star technician like Khan at Thunderstorm Stage didn't notice it. A 7-star warrior like you naturally would find it hard to detect anything unusual. Perhaps Julie understood this clearly but kept blaming herself and said, Sorry, Jean. She was exactly like in her previous life with the role of Jean Candon's nanny. Julie's fate was bound to the child she was raising. In her previous life, Julie was also Jean's nanny. Because he was incompetent, she was despised and humiliated as well. But Julie never resented or criticized Jean. Then on the day he was expelled from the Black Clan, Julie was also kicked out of the castle. But she only cried and kept telling him, "Young master, I'm sorry I couldn't take better care of you." Jin still vividly remembered Julie's bowed head and sobbing in the snowy weather that day. He didn't want to yell at someone who had always treated him well. But the current situation was very different from the previous life, and Julie also needed to strengthen her own resolve. So even though he gently reassured her, it didn't work. Jin had no choice but to shout loudly to snap Julie out of it. "Stop blaming yourself like that. That's an order. As long as you're still my nanny, you are the only escort technician I need. If you let trivial matters affect you, how can you continue escorting me in the future? So don't make me repeat this again." Got it? Jin's firmness and determination awakened Julie. She quickly composed herself and continued walking forward with him. More than anyone, Julie knew how much Jin cared about her, and knew that everything he said was for her own good. She also wanted to protect him well. So she kept tormenting herself until she was completely worn out, but then lifted her spirits again, which made Jin feel relieved. They traveled for a long time and finally arrived at a village. Mukera found an inn and rented a room for Jin to rest. Meanwhile, Jin kept thinking about the situation. If he guessed correctly, this matter likely involved that guy, the shape-shifting wizard, Booba Gaston. Shape-shifting is the strength of the Dragon Clan, but even dragons cannot transform perfectly. Only Booba is the sole existence capable of perfect shape-shifting. He used this ability to disguise himself and commit various crimes to cause chaos in the world. Jin hoped he was wrong, because if Booba was truly involved, things would become much more complicated. In his previous life, when Jin was just 20 years old, Bamon's special forces captured Booba. If now he could turn Booba into an ally, that would be very useful. But Jin had no reason to invite someone who once pointed a sword at him to become an ally. So before Booba could cause more trouble, Jin needed to thoroughly investigate. Thinking this, he suddenly felt nothing at all anymore. Just as Julie took off her outer jacket and said she would go out to keep watch, she saw Jin had already rolled over and fallen asleep. After all, this body is still a 10-year-old child. Today, so many things happened that he was completely exhausted. The next morning, Jin woke up to the loud meowing of a cat outside the window. He lazily opened his eyes and saw a black cat twisting behind the glass. This playful look made Jin think of someone. Previously, Mukera said he would always hide and follow him. "You said you'd hide and follow me. You mean turn into a cat like this, huh?" Jin tried to hold back laughter while Mukera outside was furious. After laughing to his heart's content, Jin opened the door for him to come inside. "Don't be mad. I was just a little surprised because I didn't expect you to show up looking like this. I thought you would disguise yourself as one of my servants like the stable hand or something." "If I did that, all the knights in your family would notice me." Mukera gritted his teeth in reply. Then he transformed back to his original form. But afterward, due to carelessness, he tripped over a raised wooden plank on the floor. Clumsily, Mukera immediately crashed into the windowsill. Hearing the noise, Julie, who was on high alert outside the door, rushed into the room. The foolish black dragon didn't have time to escape or turn back into a cat, and was exposed right in front of Julie. Who are you to dare follow my young master like that?" The Lasat mode was activated once again. Julie aggressively charged forward, pinned Murakan to the ground, and quickly interrogated him, saying, "Tell me everything before I end you." "Wait, this guy is Jin." Hurriedly rushing over, but before he could make up an identity for Murakan, he suddenly jumped up when he heard the name Julie. "Julie, you mean Julie? Oh, my little strawberry, finally I get to meet you." As mentioned, the 1,000-year-old black dragon has a bit of a girly hobby of eating strawberry cakes, so in over 2 years of knowing each other, Jin had brought him countless cakes, and occasionally bragged that they were made by his nanny named Julie. So Murakan had always hoped to meet her in person at least once. And faced with this situation, Jin could only sigh in boredom. "Oh no, it's really a mess." Jin raised his hand toward Murakan, whose messy hair was crossed arms with an arrogant smile to introduce, "First, this is the guardian of the Black Dragon Clan, Murakan." Then he turned and raised his hand to point at flustered Julie and said, "This is—" But before Jin could finish speaking, Murakan hastily interrupted, "I know who she is. She is my precious little strawberry cake, right?" Julie anxiously bowed repeatedly, saying, "Sorry, humble servant of the Black Dragon Clan. Ran, sorry for being disrespectful to the Guardian. Please, forgive me." But he spread his arms and laughed heartily, speaking rudely, "Don't worry, my little strawberry. I'm very willing to forgive you." Julie began to get confused, raised her hand and asked, "Hey, Mr. Murakan, may I ask why I'm the strawberry cake?" He answered firmly, Because you're wonderful, beautiful, and make perfect strawberry cakes. Julie realized, then turned sharply to look at Jin. So he's the reason you request strawberry cakes every day? Jin looked away, then smirked. The bright sunlight softly shone on the windowsill, and he gently requested her, "Could you sit down for a moment so I can explain?" They all sat down neatly together, only he lay down, propping his head with his arm. Julie covered her mouth in shock. "There's so much I don't know about you, young master." Jin apologized. "I'm sorry for lying to you." But she didn't seem angry, as he thought, "No, I've always known the young master's talents are wonderful." Yet Julie was both confused and looked at the two people before her, one big, one small. First magic, then the summoner of Sodere, and now a dragon. Murakan teased, flicking a tiny dragon off his fingertip. Suddenly cheerful petals appeared. She clasped her hands up, full of enthusiasm. "As a servant, I'm just surprised and happy for you." Then she turned to listen carefully to Jin's instructions. "Anyway, you're now part of our group. The group that can't know the truth that Murakan has awakened to my relationship with him, at least for now, understood." Julie immediately replied, "Yes, young master, I understand." He rudely jumped up to block her, grinning foolishly. "You don't need to worry, little strawberry. I'm always by the boy's side." She quickly thanked him. "Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Murakan." Julie suddenly remembered the noise when he hit the wall. "So has the loud noise from your transformation earlier stopped now?" Jin immediately raised his hand and pressed it against Murakan's face. "You should be more careful." He grumbled, "Stop lecturing me," then began to explain. "No, that was on the wooden platform still stained with seawater damage." Murakan had to admit the truth. "I fell." After saying that, he wasn't even embarrassed and threw his head back, laughing heartily. She worriedly turned pale and quietly asked the young master, "Are you sure he's trustworthy?" "You're not even sure yourself," he said, "probably." Moving to the Mattel teleport gate, he transformed into a cat perched on Jin's shoulder while Julie was talking with Mukera. "Well done, Black King team." He then paid attention to Murakan. "A cat was it here before?" She continued attentively reporting, "The Black Clan will definitely reward you generously for your efforts." He straightened up neatly before Julie and replied, "This mission is also a valuable experience for us." Mukera looked down at him and the black cat on his shoulder, whose wide eyes eagerly looked up at me, eager to see the future of the Black Clan young master she cared for. Suddenly he changed the subject, but Julie had a question for her. She was startled. "Yes." Mukera raised her hand seriously and asked, "Someone as exceptionally talented as you, why did you choose to leave the McLaren clan and become the nanny for young Master John Camden?" Julie coldly turned away. "There's nothing important to discuss." Realizing his blunder, he awkwardly scratched his head. "Sorry I was out of line." She kindly replied, "It's okay." Then Julie turned to the soldiers behind. So they entered the building together. The gatekeeper greeted mechanically, "Welcome to the Mattel teleport gate. May I see your documents?" She unfolded the cloth to reveal the Zablack clan badge with a sword to Kalen of ally Hugh Fatter. Thanking the gatekeeper for recognizing them coming from the Zablack clan, Julie quickly wrapped the badge back up. The gatekeeper raised his hand to lead the way. "It's an honor to meet you. Please follow me. We will arrange premium seating for everyone." Murakan obediently sat on his shoulder as they stepped forward while everyone reminded, "We'll be back in a moment if you can wait here about 2 hours." "Then be careful." The two sat down together and it quickly leapt onto the cushion. She suddenly called the young master Jin, who looked up confused. Murakan lay on Julie's lap, sleeping soundly. She frowned worriedly. "Honestly, as a servant, I'm very worried if Murakan gets exposed or something we can't handle." He immediately understood she was talking about my magic. Julie's voice showed urgency. "Of course no one in the Black Clan can do that." Jin smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, I know, so I will keep it hidden." Then the two and the cat, startled, looking back. He squinted, observing the badge on the green shirt that caught Jin's attention. The golden dragon badge, Veradin with pure white hair, appeared in his sight along with large, imposing guards entering. He recognized Zippo Veradin slumping down into the chair in front of them. Jin and Julie just silently watched. Who is he hiding half his face from with his bag? Too familiar. He rested his hand on his chin, speaking in an annoyed tone. I have a feeling I don't want to go to Hugh Fatter today. The next words made her frown in frustration. Meanwhile, he stayed calm, not expecting to see some troublesome rats here. But Murakhan sprang off the chair and went under his seat obediently, making Veradine exclaim like a cat, "You guys' cat is adorable." He smiled brightly, waving at Murakhan. "Come here, good boy." It strolled over leisurely. Murakhan suddenly changed to a fierce attitude, scratching Veradine's hand. The guards panicked, shouting, "Young master, the brat!" But he didn't get angry, gently calming the two guards, drawing their swords. "Hey, it's okay, it's just an animal. I must have scared it." And drawing swords in the Black Clan's territory wouldn't help. Veradine curiously looked over, surprised to see the others didn't react harshly. I was just curious and wanted to tease them a bit, but didn't expect no reaction. I guess the youngest son of the Black Clan is pretty calm. Murakhan turned and lay stretched out on Jean's lap. He stood up, leaning on his hand, and introduced, "I am Veradine Zippo. I want to apologize for my rudeness earlier." He silently observed Veradine Zippo. In Jin's impression, he was a tall, magnificent man enjoying everyone's praise. The genius mage was the highest potential heir of the Zippo clan, a role model for young mages, someone with both skill and style. But now he was just a child, smiling and holding out his hand to him. I once thought he could easily outpace me in mage skills. Although Jin hadn't taken his hand yet, Veradine still smiled without change. He silently thought, "That's how it's been all along. I never thought I'd meet him at my own age. This is a pretty happy feeling, right?" Jin closed his book and reached out to pet the cat without responding to him. "I also wonder what kind of person you are. It's good to know you're not a complete fool." Veradine awkwardly asked, "How do you rate that?" Jin smiled, but his words were full of threat. "Even if I'm just joking. If those guys draw their swords, you'll get a tour around Hugh Fatter's house without bodyguards and might lose a few fingers." Veradine laughed while awkwardly waving his right hand in the air. "Even your jokes are violent." Jin's blue eyes flashed with cruelty that matched his tone. He thought, "Am I joking?" Veradine nervously tried a fake smile. "All right, let me give you some advice." He said conciliatorily, "If you meet another Zippo or find yourself in a similar situation, don't hastily decide to cut off their fingers. Otherwise, it'll be painful for both parties." Jin sarcastically, "Good joke." Veradine's calm words startled him. "My father is Karen Zankadin, and your father is Celia Zippol. You think they'd intervene in a kid's fight?" He widened his eyes in surprise. Veradine crossed his arms and laughed heartily. "You're right. They'd probably just pay some gold as compensation or something." "Hey, I learned something from you. I'll repay this debt when I can." Jin stared blankly and immediately demanded, "Don't wait. Pay it right away." He eagerly bowed his head to ask. Of course, whatever he needed, but Jin's cold demand made Veradine stiffen. "I'd be very grateful if you could stay silent until the teleportation gate acts, and don't disturb my rest." He gradually became noisy in the silence, jumping around with all kinds of expressions. "Jin, this guy might get stronger in a few years, huh?" Veradine sat fully on the ground, resting his face on the table, staring at Jin with sparkling eyes. If it weren't for his guild, I'd ask him to be my bodyguard. Feeling embarrassed to remind the young master of his image, but he became excited, realizing, wait, if he's from the Rankanen family, does that mean he might become my archenemy? "I'm awesome." The bodyguard sighed and rubbed his forehead in exasperation. "Young master, please." You're powerless against Veradine's starry-eyed, eager gaze, so annoying. His fingers might have become serious, and he's still acting like that. Is there something wrong with the Zippo family? They're all crazy. The announcement over the speaker cut through the strange atmosphere here. "Thank you for your patience." The gate on the ceiling lit up with glowing characters. A strong magical aura appeared like a diamond shape with a cold announcement. "The teleportation gate will be temporarily opened. Everyone might experience headaches or dizziness as side effects. So passengers, please sit in pairs with one pet waiting to enter the gate." The blue magical aura gradually surrounded them. He suddenly stood up and called out, "Jin Jin Zankanden." Though about to disappear, Veradine eagerly promised, "Nice to meet you next time." "See you." Jin coldly declined and turned away. "I'm fine. Don't meet again." The tall castle and the flag bearing the family crest of the Kanden people appeared. The carriage rolled steadily. Julie leaned and stood to one side. As Jin stepped down to the carriage steps, a greeting sounded. "We've been waiting for you, young Master Pedro," respectfully bowing. "This is the first time I welcome you. I am the second servant of Pedro." Behind him stood knights in armor lined up straight. Pedro remained polite. It must have been difficult to get here. A magnificent mansion shone brightly under the sunlight. I warmly welcome you to the main mansion of the Cannon people. The shining golden swords caught attention. He introduced them to the sword garden of Pedro here. Introducing the sword garden, where those who have contributed to the prosperity of the Kanden people will be honored by having their swords planted in this garden. The hilts of these swords are all intricately carved. In other words, this place is a symbol of the dreams and honor of all members of the Kanden people. They crossed the sword garden together and entered deeper into the mansion. Jin silently admired that it used to be his dream to plant his sword here before dying. The image of his past self kneeling weakly helplessly appeared in his mind. The past me was weak and had no potential. Not a leader or smart person. Why was I so stupid, thinking that just trying hard would make everything change? He looked up high, his clear eyes full of hope. This time in this priceless place I will live a meaningful life. The windows with the Black Clan family symbol shone brightly under the golden sunlight. Jin and Julie arrived. He calmly looked up at the people standing on the stairs. Black Strawberry. The female head of the Black Clan took the initiative to greet, "Long time no see, youngest son." He responded politely, "Yes, mother." She was a bit surprised. Her amber cat-like eyes widened. Karen squinted thoughtfully at Murakhan. He asked Jin, "Did you find a wild beast?" He scratched the black cat's chin, making it visibly happy, then politely replied, "I adopted it, father." Karen subtly noticed something strange in his words. Instead of found, he said adopted it. Rosa was startled and praised, "Good that you speak respectfully." Indeed, when the Black Clan receives something, this is the proper response. Suddenly, Murakhan leapt off Jin's shoulder, startling him. She leaned down gently, stroking it. "Son, what's this child's name?" Jin said the fake name he had given Murakhan when transformed into a cat. "Her name is Butterfly Zankandan Mother." Rosa was somewhat surprised to hear a name different from hers. The other children all loudly reacted with harsh objections. Go First shouted loudly, "What even if its small parents can't allow that? How dare you add the Black Clan name to such a lowly creature?" He even turned to scold Julie. "How did you raise the youngest like this? How can a cat dare?" She could only choose, "Sorry, I'm sorry." Karen awkwardly had to command, "Enough." He looked down at him and asked, "Youngest son, why did you add the Black Clan name to this cat?" Jin respectfully placed his hand over his chest and firmly answered, "Because that way I will be responsible for her." He calmly explained, "She may just be a creature, but she is the first life I adopted, so I think her name should have value." Karen was surprised by this answer. "Amazing, but youngest son, do you understand the weight of the Black Clan name?" He held her tightly in his arms. His attitude and words clearly showed unwavering determination. "I understand very well. If anyone insults Butterfly, I will be the one to pay the price." His hand gently stroked the cane as he said, "Youngest son, it seems you have a talent for making enemies." Karen turned to look at the ugly faces of the other children and said, "Look at how the others are staring at you." Still, he calmly held Murakhan and confidently replied, "Seems so. But I also have the talent to destroy enemies, father." He smiled, satisfied, showing his shiny teeth, along with a hint, "This child all of you should worry if you want to deal with this rude youngest son." With that, Karen turned and left. Time flew by. 4 years later, early summer 1794, in the large mansion courtyard, a voice called out, "Young Master Jin." Now a tall young teenager, Jin Jankandai, 14 years old, a low-level second-rank knight cadet. Garen stepped forward to announce, "We will end the training session of the youngest young master here." "Thank you for your hard work." He thoughtfully asked, "We only train in the mornings." He placed his hands on his hips and laughed. "Isn't Miss Luna's training plan today? You might have forgotten. This is Garen Antemia Black Clan Knight Cadet Guard low-level trainer." Jin obeyed and placed the wooden sword back on the rack. "That's right, I'll go get something to eat." Garen asked disappointedly, "Are you planning to eat with the other cadets today?" Lady Rosa seemed quite disappointed. He sighed and reassured, "It's okay, I don't want to participate in the contest." Glancing at the older siblings eating, Garon followed his wishes and understood, "I will report back to you." Meanwhile, other trainees lined up neatly with trays to receive a variety of food from the counter. Someone spoke up, making Jin slightly startled as he looked over. "Young master, I brought food for you." He politely replied, "Thank you, Bellop." He smiled brightly, handing the food to Jin. "You're welcome, young master." He was Bellup Smith, a 13-year-old commoner, low-level Black Clan Knight Cadet. He kept his eyes fixed on the person puffing his cheeks and voraciously eating the food. Next to Bellup Smith, 13 years old. A commoner after failing the training exam. Jin squinted, remembering what had happened in the past. He faced having his Knight Cadet status cut and being expelled. You asked, curiously, "Is it really that good?" He startled, looking confused, and replied, "Yes." Though his cheeks were still puffed out from chewing, the ring still clenched in Bellup's mouth revealed a look of adoration as he spoke greedily. "Of course. I am always grateful to the Black Donkan clan. Thanks to them, I get to eat this incredibly delicious meat. And I'm also thankful to the young master who always shares meat with me." Jin quickly cut off that long speech. "Enough, stop." He curiously asked Bellup, "Did you memorize that yesterday too? Did you learn it by heart?" He could only scratch his head and smile sheepishly. Jin suddenly got serious and reminded Bellup, "You need to learn to control yourself with maturity. The truth is, your constant infatuation like that makes others always look down on you." He stammered in response, "Is that so?" His face showed clear sternness and firmness. He raised the spoon straight up as if demonstrating, "Exactly. Stand tall and be confident. Be confident that you are a cadet knight of the Black Donkan Guard." Bellup timidly bowed his head and murmured, "But my scores are very bad. I can't even reach first star." Jin closed his eyes, sighed, and advised, "Becoming a cadet knight of the Black Donkan isn't an easy task." The food in the tray had lessened. Jin still kindly guided, "No matter how low your scores are, you are still better than other 13-year-olds out there. Understand?" He only dared to answer quietly, "Yes." He glanced at Bellup sulking as he chewed and silently judged his personality as too naive, thinking, no wonder his family set their sights on him. Jin recalled his past life, but how could such an innocent person be taught the path of a swordmaster after becoming the Empire's loyal dog? Beginning to walk down the murderous boulevard, Jin involuntarily felt pity for Bellup's cruel fate. When he heard Bellup became a royal guard, he was very surprised, and when he heard Bellup self-destructed, he was heartbroken. If he abandoned Bellup, Jin picked up a piece of meat and put it in Bellup's tray, causing him to shout loudly, "Young master!" Jin quickly reassured him, "I'm not hungry, you can eat it instead." Bellup looked at Jin with shining bright eyes. "Young master." He smiled, looking at the person next to him happily devouring the food. "I must make sure this time you won't get kicked out." Dien Ha was determined. Once living in misfortune and then dying is more than enough. Then the two young men laughed together as they enjoyed this delicious meal. Jin went back to change clothes, counting and reviewing lessons as he walked. Dark energy release is 2 stars, mana is 4 stars, swordsmanship is 2 stars. He folded down fingers until only 2 remained, very pleased. Pretty good. If I keep going, I could reach 3-star swordsmanship in 2 years. But before that, Luna planted her sword into the cold, tiled floor and announced, "My dear little brother, today's training will be the same as yesterday." The two stood facing each other, swords planted on the ground. She ordered, "However, you will have to defend in a different way." Jin respectfully replied, "Understood, big sister." Luna looked at him and reminded, "Little brother, use your mind's eye. The eerie blue-black magic aura will appear." Jin closed his eyes and followed, but inside he was cautious, mixed with some worry. "Looking with the mind's eye, I guess I have to get through a type of training I've never heard of before." Luna emphasized, "Look with the eye of your soul." Jin obeyed tightly, closing his eyes to comply. She continued instructing, "For those who live to sharpen their swords, having the eye of the soul is more important than anything." Luna stood straight, eyes closed, carefully repeating, "Don't open your eyes." Though standing still and following, Jin wondered, the soul's eye state is only reached by knights above 7 stars, but she's teaching it to a 2-star like me. Jin kept thinking, not only that a normal soul's eye is achieved by dispersing aura, but since I can't use aura when I practice, I can't understand it. He imagined himself as a tall swordsman clad in solid iron armor, holding his sword, focusing all bright energy, rushing massively into the blade. But Jin chose to trust his hand gripping the sword hilt. "I choose to trust her. I'm sure she has a purpose focusing on this training. I believe one day I'll understand this exercise." Time passed quickly and they finished training. Luna praised generously, "You did well today, Jin. You can head back now." He scratched his neck and smiled brightly, replying, "Thank you, Sister Luna." She recalled his training image and silently admired. Just as expected, I knew he would do well, but he always exceeds my expectations. He shows a focus and memory rarely seen in a two-star knight. With your potential, I'm sure you'll understand it in just a few years. Luna's expression softened, filled with quiet encouragement. Keep developing, my little brother. Jin turned back to the training ground. The trainees were all standing neatly, and they greeted in unison, "Welcome, young master." Bellup stood timidly and dejectedly among the trainees, everyone cautiously watching each other, all looking very tense. "I'm sure they are," Garen said with a hand on his hip, laughing. "This match counts for a big part of the overall score, and good marks are a shortcut to becoming a knight protector, so I'm sure we're all pretty nervous." He then turned to Jin and smiled. "Today is an important day for you too, young master." Jin, arms crossed. Observing everyone, suddenly looked at Garen as he explained, "The distant bride said that if you defeat 10 people of higher rank today, you can join the intermediate training group early next year." Jin responded calmly, "Mom said that. Good news." Suddenly he glanced over and saw him trembling as he hugged his shoulders, making Jin worried. Bellup was at it again, rubbing his forehead in frustration. "I'll measure it so he doesn't get expelled, but he needs to be more confident." At this point, Bellup looked pale and stunned mouth agape. Garon's voice rang out. "Attention today, everyone will fight 3 times and change partners each round. The top 10 winners will fight one-on-one against young Master Jin." Everyone replied in unison, "Yes, sir." Then the guide started the free-for-all battle. 2 people drew swords and fought fiercely. One was defeated and fell hard to the ground. Jin quietly observed and assessed. "They're not bad. They didn't get their trainee certification for nothing." Some defeated trainees lined up neatly, and he ordered, "All right, those not selected return to your places." They answered together, "Yes, sir." Garen then reminded, "Get ready, young master." Jin's strong hand instantly grabbed his sword, responding firmly, "All right." As soon as he finished speaking, he ruthlessly knocked the weapon from the victor's hand mid-air and wondered, 10, huh? Then I estimate I'm best at defeating 8, so I only need to beat 2 more. He became cautious, thinking, to do that, the person I'm focusing on is him. Turning around, he shouted, "Next, get ready!" A young woman with pink hair stepped forward. Misa Milcano, a trainee knight protector of the Black Order's regular rank, confidently stepped up without fear thanks to Jin's care of the young master. Jin completely knew who she was. Misa, a noblewoman who would become a knight protector after completing all the trainee stages in the future. She was full of enthusiasm, raising her sword into a ready stance. "Today I will defeat you at all costs." Jin had been looking forward to this match. The match against Misa was the most important part of this test. Jin politely smiled and nodded at her. "All right, I look forward to it." Misa launched herself off the ground like a storm, rushing straight to slash at him, but Jin easily blocked the fierce strike. He coldly looked at the 2 crossed swords. "Misa is stronger than before, but not to the point where I can't beat her." Jin swung his sword left, fighting, while carefully thinking he had to defeat 8 more people after her. If so, he could easily counter all moves without much effort. The sword strikes continuously moved like tightly woven spiderwebs in the air. Unlike Jin, Misa had to struggle to defend. Her expression grew increasingly panicked. Why was he attacking so simply when he had already shown all his techniques? She gripped her sword with both hands, trembling slightly but angry inside. Maybe he was doing it on purpose, but why? Misa's eyes widened in disbelief. Jin before her now seemed like a madman, smiling smugly while continuously swinging his sword to attack. Misa feared, thinking he was looking down on her. She thought she couldn't defeat him today either. Her fighting spirit flared back up. She gathered strength to raise her sword. Good Misa spun her sword, aiming at the middle of Jin's blade, and shouted with all her might. Young Master Bellup and other trainees outside watched in stunned amazement with mouths agape. The more he fought, the more passionate he became. Any attack could be easily countered. A smug smile always played on his lips. Her distinctive pink hair flew with the movement in the wind. "I won't be pushed down again. This time I will surpass the young master." Misa gave it her all. Her face tensed as she leapt up, raising her sword straight at Jin. The 2 wooden blades clashed. Jin only needed to slash across to break her sword in 2. The broken sword flew straight up. The dust gradually settled. Misa stared blankly at the shattered sword in her hand, still unable to collect herself. How did Jin's sword already come close to her neck? "You point your sword straight ahead. No need to be polite. That was a great fight, Misa." Jin raised the sword, cracked all over, and examined it carefully. "It's useless anyway. She was startled and looked at Mesa. Seeing the cracks on the sword, she couldn't help but panic. I can't believe he attacked the same spot on my sword with those strikes. Our endurance and strength are the same, but I lost. Such stubborn precision, how could that happen? But then she gradually accepted it. After all, he's a child of the Black Border people. Mesa called out to the young master. She loudly promised with all her passion, I will train diligently and definitely defeat you next time. Mesa silently resolved that she couldn't keep losing like this. The sky above gradually changed color. Over time, everything went according to plan. Another trainee was defeated by Jin, stunned just like me right now. It's very difficult to directly face 10 trainees at once. You strike coldly and decisively. Despite my and Mesa's amazing victories, I made them misunderstand that they will lose if they fight head-on. The wooden sword fell to the ground. The loser knelt motionless. He stood proudly looking down. With this 10, thanks to heaven, everything went as planned. Jin wiped sweat tiredly. Just as he sighed relief, Garon praised him. Well done, young master. He smiled broadly, approaching with endless praise. With this next year, you might be trained by a true Black Border member in the mid-level group. Congratulations in advance. Jin smiled politely in response. Thank you, Garon. Please take care of me until then. He informed Jin that it was almost mealtime. We'll end the morning training now. Jin was silent for a moment, then asked how much longer. Garon honestly replied about 10 minutes. Why do you ask? All the trainees standing around were bruised and battered. Limbs bandaged, only Bellup was unscathed. He looked around, then said, I still have to face one more person. Jin reached out to take another wooden sword. Everyone wondered who it was. Suddenly he shouted, Bellup Smith. Everyone's eyes widened and glanced around. He's the real deal. They were all shocked, unable to believe it. Bellup pointed to himself, stammering, Young master me. Jin coldly ordered step up and fight. He was scared and stammered, unable to step forward. But Jin growled again. Bellup Jin stood against the sun, pointing his sword at him. You can't survive in the Black Border like this. He used all his strength, both commanding and persuading. Step up, step straight up, and fight me. I will defeat you. Bellup's footsteps slowly advanced. He hesitated, stepping up onto the stage. Bellup held the wooden sword, trembling. Why did the young master choose me? Is it because I'm weak, so I can help him enforce military discipline? Jin, with a serious face, called Bellup. Hearing his name, he startled and replied, Yes, young master. Jin's voice was cold, with a hint of sarcasm. I felt quite tired after fighting 10 people. But you are different. You look fine. You resist confidently, but I am still stronger than you. That's why I want to fight you. Bellup was stunned. What he didn't understand and asked what he meant. Without letting Bellup finish, Jin immediately swung his sword. His sharp, fierce gaze rushed forward. Although surprised with a soldier's reflexes, Bellup still managed to raise his sword to block. But the strike was so strong it sent Bellup sliding backward. He was shocked. Young master, you didn't finish speaking. Jin's flurry of strikes came down. Strangely, Bellup blocked every one. Jin laughed, looking amused. Good block, Beelzebub. Don't let your guard down, thanks. Then Bellup swung his sword, pushing Jin back. The wooden sword scraped the floor, carving a deep groove and sending dirt and stones flying. Beelzebub took another hit, gritting his teeth to brace himself, his whole body tense. Jin paused, holding his sword and stepping back a few paces. For a moment, he placed his hand on the floor. Then he quickly lowered his body and slid like the wind. He rushed straight at Beelzebub. This time, Beelzebub couldn't react fast enough and fell to the floor. Then he sat up, grit in his teeth, tears of frustration welling up at the corners of his eyes. Unable to bear it any longer, Beelzebub looked up at the young master. Why did you do that? Jin replied slowly in a firm tone. Do you think I called you here just to fight? I want to fight you, he said sternly, standing tall and pointing his sword downward. Then I can kill you. Jin grabbed the sword and commanded him to stand up. I'll only go easy once. Everyone around began murmuring excitedly. The sword in Beelzebub's hand suddenly glowed. Mesa realized something and shouted loudly. The aura's light grew increasingly bright. His face turned cold. She turned to look at sword instructor Garon and urgently said, Teacher, we need to stop this fight immediately. If this continues, the young master will be in danger, Jin, throwing a threatening glance at the soldiers standing outside. This is the last order you'll see today. Take it with you until you're 6 feet under. He gritted his teeth reluctantly. I understand now. A flash of sadness crossed Beelzebub's eyes. Is this really what you want, young master? He answered directly. Yes, his tone extremely cold. If you know how to use aura, then don't back down. He gritted his teeth in anger. You're making a mistake, young master. If you want to fight me, then... Beelzebub roared furiously and charged at Jin to attack. You should have come to fight me first. Jin frowned, surprised, and used his sword to block the strike, but the sword couldn't withstand the pressure and immediately broke in two. Jin gritted his teeth and stepped back to avoid the hit. He stared wide-eyed, silently amazed at how strong Beelzebub was. Jin recalled previous training sessions. He knew Beelzebub was very strong. Whenever the young cadets challenged each other, Beelzebub could always read the opponent's skills and tactics. Moreover, he knew how to avoid injuring himself even when losing. But he didn't expect that Beelzebub could use aura. While Jin was still briefly hidden, Beelzebub charged forward, unleashing all his anger with a relentless series of strikes. Even though his sword was broken, he didn't stop. A flash of light, Jin threw a punch at Beelzebub's sword hand. He gritted his teeth, his hand trembling, and Beelzebub felt something pressing close. The sword fell from his hand. Immediately, Jin grabbed Beelzebub by the neck barehanded and slammed him to the floor. Beelzebub struggled to break free. Seeing it was time to end things, Jin slowly loosened his grip. Beelzebub struggled to crawl out of Jin's arms. He was unwilling. "Why did you stop, young master? You said you wanted to fight to the end. Then you should have finished the fight." Beelzebub's voice was full of frustration. "Do you enjoy toying with others like this?" Jin replied seriously. "Is that the kind of person I am?" he challenged. "Then why are you looking at me like that?" Beelzebub said, reluctantly provoking him. "This way also hurts me a lot." Jin said, "You make me hurt more than you think." He clenched his fist. "What do you know about me to treat me like this?" He slowly bent down to pick up the sword. "As you said, I don't know who you are," he muttered deeply. "But I know one thing." His eyes grew serious, his voice ringing like a profound reminder. "Care is something you can only possess when you become strong. You're weaker than me and kinder than me, too." Then Jin placed his hand on Beelzebub's shoulder. "Of course I like that, but if you're that kind, you won't survive in this hell." He encouraged him to become stronger to protect his kind heart. Everyone around was moved by the kindness he showed to himself and others. Beelzebub burst into tears while Jin gently comforted him. "Sorry for putting you through something so difficult." Just then, the kitchen team entered carrying the ingredients. The pink-haired man gasped, "Oh my God." He nervously continued, "The training session isn't over yet. We'll be back later." You look at them and reply, "No, it's fine, just bring it in." At this moment, Beolop quietly reminded the young master to come receive today's meal ration. Jin stood up looking composed. "All right, I'll go get your meal." Inside the dark forest, Karen silently listened to Khan's story. "So that's why my youngest son said that, huh?" He laughed heartily. "I see now. The boy has made his choice, hasn't he?" Thinking of Jin comforting Beolop, Karen sneered, "He wants to protect the weak while ruling by force himself." After a moment of reflection, he advised, "If that's the case, just let him continue. I want to see what he can do. Khan, go back and report everything to the boy." He immediately obeyed, "Yes, sir." Karen's eyes were filled with danger. "I will give the boy his first mission." At age 15, Jin was recognized as a level 3 knight. During the first break, some trainees returned to their hometowns. The rest trained on their own to test their progress. Upon reaching intermediate level, wooden swords would no longer be used for practice. Customized real swords would replace them. Many trainees commissioned craftsmen to make personalized swords. You were also trying to find a sword that suited you from the clan's armory. Suddenly, a call came. Jin Luna laughed and complained, "Finding a sword that fits me is really tough," because she said she wanted to pick one for you, so all the decision-making power fell to her. A month ago, she begged Jin, "Please let me choose a sword for you." And he reluctantly agreed. "Well, she probably has better eyes for weapons than I do, so the sword she picks should suit me." Shortly after, Luna appeared holding a large sword. Jin's eyes widened in surprise. She enthusiastically explained, "This sword is called the Curtain Killer, and it's your age. I used it a lot. Big, sharp sword. When I was your age, I think I used stuff like this." Luna looked at it fondly, her voice nostalgic. "I guess this is the original form of the Gruntle sword I once used." Her eyes gleamed with anticipation. "What do you think of this sword? Do you like it?" Jin froze, stammering reluctantly. "Well, Luna, I really appreciate you helping me choose, but I don't think this sword suits me." She briefly looked regretful, nodded. "I understand, no worries, I was just joking." Jin's face darkened. He didn't think she was joking. Luna said, "The sword in front of you isn't giving up, but the Curtain Killer really is a good sword. It's a bit heavy, but not too much." Realizing her persuasion wasn't working, she was silent for a moment, then gave up. "All right, I'll listen to you and pick another sword." Jin felt a weight lift off his chest. Luna led him to another room, opening the door and saying, "I really put a lot of effort into choosing a sword for you." Inside was a storage full of countless swords. Luna was determined. "I have to find the sword that suits you best, one that only you can wield." She picked up a sword and raised it, "And this is my choice." Jin stared in amazement. Luna explained, "Since you chose Barasada from the start, I think this sword suits you best." She drew the sword from its sheath, the metal glinting. He suddenly realized this sword was connected to the Barasada sword used by the first clan chief Bradamante. Jin gently caressed the blade while Luna smiled contentedly. "You like this sword, don't you?" He happily praised, "Yes, this truly is the most special sword among thousands of excellent swords." Jin lifted the new Bradamante in his hands, thinking this was the sword he vowed to obtain by any means, never expecting she would pick it for him. He told himself that both the Bradamante and Barasada swords were perfect for using dark energy, and if he had chosen this sword himself, others would definitely oppose and force him to give it up, Jin said with concern. "This Bradamante sword is something all my siblings want, so I don't even know how to thank you for choosing it for me." Luna agreed. "That doesn't sound good, does it?" Then she placed her hand on her chest, looking straight at Jin. "I guess you still haven't let down your guard with me, right?" Luna said frustratedly. "I'm a bit disappointed, you know." He quickly waved his hand. "No, it's not like that. But I'm serious." She pointed her finger close to Jin's face. "Pretending to set conditions, huh? But I really am disappointed, so please soothe this little disappointed heart of mine." He stammered, "What?" Luna urged. "Close your eyes, Jin, we're about to start training." He agreed. "All right." The sky was clear, her voice gentle like soft, drifting clouds. "Do you know what I'm talking about?" Jin replied firmly. "Of course, Sister Luna." She nodded with satisfaction. "Good, but today I still have something to teach you." Luna lightly patted his shoulder, surprising him. "What?" She gently explained, "Your family members may always try to bring each other down, but they are also the ones who love you unconditionally." Luna's eyes shone with sincerity as she emphasized, "Remember this deeply in your heart." Then she grabbed Jin's shoulder, shaking him and speaking loudly, "And don't be sad anymore." He jumped, stammering, I understand." "Sorry," she said slowly, "but it weighs heavily in my heart. I lived a lonely life within my own family even before you were born. I've lived like that enough, so please understand why I don't want you to go through a life like that too." Jin gently hugged his aching arm, voice softening, "I know." Luna walked calmly, head held high, as if nothing had happened. "Give orders gently but firmly." "All right then, let's start training now, Jin. Feel it with all your heart." In the luxurious room, a voice echoed Murakami. He proudly showed off the sword he had just acquired. "What do you think?" He didn't bother to turn around, still lying down, reading a book. "Give it back, kid. You still can't control dark energy, so you can't use it." Jin froze. "What?" Murakami spoke in a low tone, advising, "If you want to use Bradamante, at least you have to reach the 3rd level of dark power." "But you're only a 2-star kid, right?" His tone became serious. "You can't imitate the awakened stance of the sword." Jin frowned and sheathed the sword. "I will reach 3 stars soon." He was determined. "I will be able to use it soon." At that moment, Murakami slammed the book shut. He was furious now, so arrogant. "Listen carefully to what I'm saying, kid." Murakami's face darkened, pressing Jin's head harshly. "Through clenched teeth, Barasada and Bradamante are not swords you can just recklessly wield. At least reach the 3rd level of dark power. That's the absolute minimum." The pressure increased, his voice harsh and forceful. "Use ordinary swords for now and wait until you reach 5 stars of dark power. Understand?" Jin stubbornly pushed his hand away, eyes still defiant. "You know I'm not the impatient type. So basically, I just need to reach 5 stars of dark power this year, right?" Murakami was so angry, veins bulged on his forehead as he grabbed Jin's head again, trying to snap him awake. "Even if you are first place in the dark power competition, mastering that power is still totally unreasonable. I'm telling you this for your own good." His breath heavy. Murakami lowered his voice, but it was deep and serious. "It's so unreasonable that even dogs would laugh in your face. If you understand me, stop saying nonsense right now." Jin quietly reached for the book. "Hey." Suddenly he snatched the book from him, voice challenging. "Say that again. What did you say?" Murakami turned pale, shouted, "Damn it! Put it down. Listen to me. Put it down now." Just then a woman appeared, making both freeze. "Young Master Jin, please come back." "Julie, what's wrong? Is something going on?" She stepped in with an awkward expression. "Guide Garen is looking for you, sir. He was supposed to come here himself, but he said he needed to look at the map and discuss the strategy summary with you, so he needed you to go there." Murakami took the opportunity to snatch the comic book, hugging it to his chest like a beloved treasure. Jin questioned, "Strategy." Julie added, "Guide Garan has assigned you your first mission. After the vacation ends, you must depart immediately." He rubbed his head and nodded slightly. I see. Jin put his hands in his pockets and calmly said, It's about time. Now I'm a 3-star swordsman, but leaving right after the vacation is kind of strange, isn't it, miss? A worried voice followed. I guess it's because this is a very difficult mission. Usually, intermediate-level missions and above are assigned to them. But he was indifferent. Maybe it's because my progress has been recognized that I was assigned this mission. Jin turned his head and waved casually in farewell. I'll go check it out. Julie, stay here and wait with Murakhan. She politely replied, Yes, young master. Please, go ahead, sir. The black door creaked open. He stepped into the discussion area. His eyes scanned the room before he spoke. Garon, I heard I was assigned a mission. He replied, Greetings, young master. Besides, you 10 other beginner trainees were also assigned missions. Without beating around the bush, Garon spread out the map. Everyone will be divided into 2 teams to carry out the mission. This is a search mission in the border area near the southern edge of the Din Empire. Someone asked, Is the Din Empire close to the land of the monsters? It seems that area is also near the region marked as the den of the White Wolf tribe. Jin glanced over the map, his heart sinking. Lower-level trainees shouldn't be sent to this area, he thought. If this is the first mission, it's quite difficult. The time to complete it is also shorter than usual. An assistant stepped forward and handed him a stack of documents. Young master, here are the map and detailed information about the members. Others glanced and whispered, Our team members are trainees with pre-intermediate results, including Belop. Is he the member with unstable results? Doubt rose in Jin. Could someone have proposed this intentionally? His father's image appeared, proposed. If my fight with Belop was reported to father, then this mission is probably a test for me. His eyes gradually grew cold. All right, father. I will definitely show you my unwavering confidence. 3 days later at the southern border area, the objective of this mission is to find the heir to the Dean Kingdom family. Look, Baven, we will set up a guard camp in the center of the southern border. When we arrive and finish preparations, each team will start searching and share information by sending someone to the camp for a set time during the day. Everyone will no longer call you young master but commander. Those who are injured should stay in the camp to rest. If necessary, once a report from a member ends hope, the scout leader still survives. Garin reported to Commander Eddington, We've spotted monsters from the Waterscale tribe. Jin vaguely knew about the Waterscale tribe. He wasn't too concerned because they were a peaceful tribe. Avoid predators. We probably won't enter the nearby White Wolf tribe territory. Jin ordered, All right, Belop, because you'll be slowed by the snow, leave for the camp 2 hours earlier. Return to Zone 13. He acknowledged, understood, Commander. He continued instructing the others to search Zone 13. They all replied in unison, Yes, Commander. Though his tone was decisive, Jin felt a rising sense of unease. I have a bad feeling about this. Father must have assigned the mission directly, but everything seems too smooth. He tried to reassure himself, or maybe misunderstood that Father wanted to test him with this mission. A member of the Waterscale tribe let out a wrong note. Other members mocked, looks poor. They nervously held up fish skewers, if you're hungry, have some. Jin politely declined. Thanks, I'll repay you later. He picked up the map and pondered. Outside Zone 13 is monster territory. Beginner soldiers won't stand a chance there. Jin thought to himself, I don't need to push myself just to get results. I'll spend the next 3 days confirming which areas have been searched. Just then, hurried footsteps sounded. Someone called out to the young master as Belop ran up panting young master Jin. You turn around. What's going on? His shout makes the whole team freeze. Team 2 has been ambushed. Jin immediately orders all forces prepare to move. Belop, what's the situation? He urgently reports Team 2 scattered to avoid the enemy. Someone who escaped has arrived at the guard camp to report the situation. Jin presses. The monsters ambushed them. Belop denies no. They were ambushed by humans. It's confirmed that 3 people attacked the Black House villagers. Only 3 people. His eyes doubt no way it's just that few. I'm sure they had more people. Jin immediately instructs Eddington David return to the camp to guard the perimeter. Contacting the enemy is forbidden. First report as soon as possible. The whole team obeys. Yes, sir. His voice lowers. There are too many enemies in the snowy forest here. Jin runs while thinking. But what is their goal? Targeting Team 2 instead of Team 1 where I am. He ponders again. I don't know who they are, but they've been attacked. I'm sure they will pay for touching the Black House villagers. Sierra notices something unusual. Young Master has Beelzebub's blood fear in his eyes. Impossible. Mesa, everyone in Team 2 is already dead. He interrupts, trying to keep a reassuring tone. Calm down. The blood is still fresh. Jin kneels, wipes some blood on his fingertip, and rubs it gently. No signs of being knocked down or flesh torn. He concludes there was a fight here and Team 2 fled. The footprints show only one person ambushed them. Sierra suddenly discovers something and speaks up. Young Master. We found bandages left behind. They seem to belong to Hugh Fatter. Jin is pleased. Good. Where did you find them? Sierra replies briefly. To the west. A thought flashes through his mind. So while treating the wounded after being chased, they were attacked by an ambusher and moved west. Without hesitation, Jin stands and orders Sierra join Addington's group and rely on them to move out. Bellop nods. Yes, young master. Then the two of them depart together. They follow the trail until Bellop quietly calls out Team 2 young master. Jin cautiously, I know. But his eyes do not leave the people in front of him. Mesa is not here. Moreover, the number of ambushers has increased by 1. Jin slowly lowers his voice. Bellop, close your eyes for a moment. After 2 seconds, attack the one on the left. He draws his sword ready. Understood. He holds Bradamante, recalling what was taught earlier, the characteristics of the dark energy that Murakan taught him. Immediately, Jin releases a beam of power from the sword. The sharpness and destructive power enveloped in dark energy increases. He rushes straight at the target with a swift and brutal move. The sword's effect rings in his head, wearing down the material. Scott is stunned, seeing an enemy die right in front of him. Bellop charges at Hades. He is stunned on the spot. What the hell? A dangerous premonition makes Hades look up. At the same time, he descends like a shadow. Bradamante is unleashed by its master. Bellop rushes in front, forcing Hades to raise his sword to block. But right behind him, Jin swings a deadly slash. Hades falls down, screaming in pain. Jin turns to check his teammates. Is everyone okay? Kiko speaks up. Young master, he's holding his injured arm, trying to stand. We're fine, but they've captured Mesa. Mong apologizes with a heavy voice. We're sorry, young master. Jin replies, it's okay, prioritize treating everyone first. The Hades lying beneath thrashes wildly. Jin steps forward with a disdainful look. Spare you? You want me to spare you? From your perspective, you seem like foolish apostles of Zippo. Bradamante flashes in his hand. He will give you 2 choices. Jin's face is ice cold. 1, you die peacefully after revealing your faction purpose and base. Or 2, shut up and die painfully like your comrades. His voice firm, I will keep my promise. My name is Jin Jan Kandon. I swear on my family rules and my honor. Hades gritted his teeth, enduring the fear that broke through his usual tough exterior. Fine, spare my family. Honkai, I belong to a revolutionary group called Kinzello. You're curious, Kinzello. Jin is somewhat impressed. It's a terrorist organization active during the time I was dead. Memories rise in your mind. The world was in chaos when they killed King Jin and massacred the people. They called themselves revolutionaries, but the revolution Kinzello talked about was turning their king into the king of the world. Thinking this, Jin immediately interrogates Hades. You intended to spark rebellion in Jin's kingdom by killing the Black Can soldiers. He panics and quickly explains, I'm just a henchman, so I don't know much. I don't know where the base is either. My branch operates at the entrance to the Monster Land. There are about 20 warriors and 4-star mages. You ask in a questioning tone at the end, why capture Mesa? Hades replies with a trembling voice, it's to promote our revolution. There was an order to capture a female soldier. Scott grits his teeth, cursing those filthy bastards. He is scared. That's all I know. Jin swings the sword in his hand. I will keep my promise. And delivers a finishing strike to Hades' life. You turn to ask Bellop, how long has Mesa been captured? He replies, about an hour. Jin commands, then they must still be near the entrance to the Monster Land. Go request reinforcements from the base after completing first aid. Kiko hears this and is very worried. Sorry, sir. Planning to go alone, young master, he adds, more anxious. The ambushers are 4-star warriors. There are 20 in total. Scott continues, he's right. Going alone is too dangerous, young master. He tries to persuade, we are soldiers, so it's normal. If we die in battle, so be it. Jin interrupts. As you said, Scott, you're serious. But 1 soldier was captured. The son of the Black Can people can't do nothing. Jin's tone is resolute. I'm stronger than everyone thinks, so obey orders. I will treat any resistance as insubordination. Also, Bello advises, because all members of Team 2 are injured. Now you are their strongest soldier. so you have to keep yourself alert. You understand what I mean, right? Bellhop agrees. I will remember that, young master. Then Jin immediately rushes off. You think of Mesa tied up silently praying, please don't let me arrive too late. In the cold night, Jin looks at the situation and reflects, our enemy has 24-star soldiers. He sighs wearily. But my swordsmanship is only about 3 stars. 4-star magic and 3-star dark energy release magic. Jin walks through the wind and fog, feeling heavy. Development speed is pretty good, but I can't face all of them at once. Given the current situation, the top priority is rescuing Mesa. Then I'll practice more magic use. I will try to avoid fighting as much as possible and focus on finding Mesa. Jin casts a detection spell. Thin light nets spread from his hands across the space like a spider web. Thinking silently, checking the terrain. And if I keep using pursuit magic here, that hand keeps weaving magic circles. He commands the greenish lights toward the meadow. Jin immediately moves in the direction the magic indicates. They haven't gone far, but on the way he is suddenly ambushed. Lights repeatedly slice the wind toward Jin, accompanied by a voice shouting, "It's the kid Ranzanel!" Right after a group of figures rush out fiercely from the bushes. His hand flashes with surging green light beams, then shoots straight at the group. They are really stunned magic. That black can guy is using magic! Yelling echoes in the chaos. Damn it, just kill him! Jin immediately draws Bradamante to respond. A clean slash sends Muse flying away. The leader holding a fire-emitting staff roars from behind, "Get out of the way, Muse!" He immediately ignites it and fierce flames rush straight at Jin. In the blink of an eye, a stream of fire wraps completely around Jin's arm. Muse laughs arrogantly, confident that he is locked down. One hand engulfed in flames, but still unharmed. Jin uses his other hand to immediately deliver a critical strike to the opponent. The flames around your hands are not only controlled, but have also turned into fierce counterattack weapons. At this moment, Jin stood tall, one hand tightly gripping the sword, the other holding the blazing flame firmly. The hooded guy gasped when he saw that scene. However, he was determined to defeat him no matter what. If fire didn't work, he immediately changed his attack, turning the flames into ice, and shouted loudly, "Then I will tear you apart with ice!" A small shard of ice pierced Jin's chest. His gaze remained bone-chillingly cold, piercing through the ice as if feeling nothing at all. That scene terrified the hooded guy, who exclaimed, "Impossible!" Then he stammered in shock how, in the silent night, a furious shout echoed my magic. Jin took each step silently, cursing those bastards Kinzello. Observing the situation, he thought quietly, "Looks like they don't intend to hide any traces. They've underestimated their opponent too much." Jin's hand lightly reached down. Surely they met someone else here and moved by a cart. Kinzello is a group with a proper hierarchy. They probably divide the loot according to ranks. He picked up the map and continued to think. Because they wouldn't dare touch the rewards meant for higher ranks, now is the only chance to safely rescue Mesa. Jin opened the map. Currently, he is near the territory of the monsters, so their base must be nearby. Thinking so, he summoned fire magic. I'll distract them and find a weakness to rescue Mesa. Immediately after, fireballs shot out like bullets. The flames burst fiercely, spreading throughout the forest. Jin continued creating blue whirlwinds. He silently calculated, if I do this, they'll run outside to put out the fire. The fire raged, causing nearby residents to shout, "Fire! What's going on suddenly?" The bustling voices rang out, "Where did this fire come from? Put out the fire now! Water! Bring water!" Jin stood behind, observing with disdain. "Don't you know how to put out a fire properly?" A panicked giant shouted, "Mages use your water and ice magic!" He looked at him puzzled. Is that their leader? The fire grew larger and frightened the people even more. The fire boss still didn't extinguish. That guy shouted, "Do you think this fire started on its own in this weather? Someone definitely lit it." He looked for him. Suddenly he sensed someone behind. The chaos continued loudly. "Move quickly! Call the mages quickly!" Amid the thick smoke, Jin held the key, quietly satisfied. "Good, I found the way in." The door slightly opened. He stepped inside, searching while quietly murmuring, "Quite cold, huh? Where could Mesa be?" Suddenly a hatch appeared before his eyes, making Jin suspicious. A basement. Inside, he saw a woman's long hair faintly visible in the darkness. Jin immediately shouted, "Mesa!" She turned, her head voice trembling. "Young Master Mesa!" Uneasy, he asked immediately, "Why are you here? It's dangerous." He gently reassured with a firm tone, "Don't worry about me. Can you walk?" She was tightly tied up, trying to answer, "Yes, but I don't think I can run." Jin then slashed the ropes. All right, I'll help you stand. Suddenly the ground shook violently. He paused briefly. What's that sound? Mesa panicked softly, calling young master. She looked straight into his eyes, unusually serious. Can you promise me one thing? Jin frowned. Don't say any more, Mesa. But she still spoke with determination. If in the end we fall into danger, just leave me behind. The young master is extremely important. Nothing bad can happen to him. He pretended not to hear and helped her up. Go ahead first. It's very dangerous. They had just stepped out of the basement when the area was covered with dirt rocks and corpses. Jin realized silently that this was the work of the monsters from the war tribe. Both remained silent, observing the situation from afar. A giant shadow appeared, a creature with pure white fur slowly approaching. It was the White Wolf tribe. Mesa hadn't finished speaking before being knocked unconscious. Young master, I'll buy time, so hurry up. The young master, Kurito, roared curses at the useless bastards. If you can't even put out a fire, then there's no reason for you to live anymore. He aimed at Jin and asked bluntly, You're the one who caused all this, aren't you, kid? You didn't flinch at all, responding firmly, That's right. I am the son of Karen Zankandan. Jin Zankandan's gaze was sharp like a commanding sword. State your name, you freak. Kurito bared his teeth in a pleased grin. Zankandan, you're one of the children of the Zankandan family. A few days before starting the mission in the kingdom at the mansion of the Dankandan clan, Jin was diligently training with the sword Bradamante. Dark energy flickered along the blade when suddenly Murakhan kicked him squarely in the side. You idiot, he roared. Do you want to die or what? I told you already. You're not skilled enough yet, so if you unleash your sword, you'll only be overwhelmed by the dark energy. Murakhan grabbed Jin's collar threateningly. If you don't want to die from overdosing on dark energy, then don't try to awaken your sword anymore. Got it. You helplessly replied, Got it. Back to reality. Kurito was excited. Runkanden, that's right. Today is the day I hunt for the most valuable prize. He bared his fangs with a drooling snarl. My name is Kohito Chuka. I am a warrior of the Chuka clan White Wolf tribe, a tribe notorious for being fierce and bloodthirsty. The adults of the White Wolf tribe are at least 6-star warriors. Everyone knows the White Wolf tribe hates the Dankandan clan, and the reason is that the first chief of the Dankandan clan invited their god, Great White Wolf Javier, and killed him. Duyen furrowed her brows, calculating silently. I can't outrun him with Mesa. Kurito stomped like a raging storm full of killing intent. I will offer you as a sacrifice to Javier so his soul can rest. He gripped his sword tightly and it roared, Choose now. Will you fight an honorable match with me? Or will you be torn apart running away like a coward? Jin's cold gaze showed no fear. I will fight you. Kurito lunged forward, voice full of excitement. Good then. You are a Dankandan with some shame. His giant axe swung down with a thunderous roar. Then let's have a real fight. The axe blade struck down with such power it cracked the ground and rocks. Both charged at each other without mercy. Jin held his sword ready to strike, but immediately realized Kohito's overwhelming strength, leaving him wide-eyed. He dashed forward like lightning. Jin braced himself to block the blow. His chest was heavy with a thought. He really is from the White Wolf tribe. I had to use all my strength just to block his attack. Before he could catch his breath, Kohito charged again. He clenched his teeth, reassuring himself. But I still have a chance to win. I have a few trump cards my opponent doesn't know about. The magic pendant and dark energy in Jin's hand. The blue gem on the pendant glowed softly. Using the pendant now is worth it if I can't get past this danger. It means I'm not qualified to be strong. He raised a shield both to defend and calculate. Using magic wasn't suitable either. The 4-star magic has no effect on White Wolf tribe members, and if someone from the clan was sent to investigate, the guards would instantly detect traces of magic. If that happens, my breaking a clan taboo would be exposed. The sword blade flashed. That left only one choice. Jin strained using his sword to block the terrible axe blow, then whispered as Rito's dark energy wildly swung the axe through the air. He countered with explosive power, shouting, Unleash my sword! One hand braced on the ground to keep balance. Jin breathed heavily, sweat pouring down. It sneered, Nice sword, Dankandan brat, but it's no match for your clan's famous black sword. The two figures charged at each other again. Sparks flew violently. The axe swung down onto his head. Kurito growled, You're stronger than you look. A moment later, he was unexpectedly hit. He gritted his teeth, reminding himself to recall the feeling of unleashing his sword that night. At that moment, Kohito shouted, It's over, Dankandan brat! Along with your white sword, I will sacrifice you to Javier. He looked up at the cold, icy gaze. I have to remember it right now immediately. Jin charged straight ahead, catching Jito the crab off guard. He only managed to utter, "Huh!" In the darkness, the sword dripping with dark energy swung down. Thin green strands like moonlight surrounded his vision, making Cojito panic. I can't see anything. A white light tore through the darkness, piercing his body mercilessly. Jin's hand still gripped the sword filled with dark energy tightly. I don't even understand why my clan is famous for their black sword. Only recently have I come to understand the feeling. A slash cut his body in half. He stammered, "What are you—" His eyes were still emotionless. A good fight. In the thick darkness, Jin limped step by step heavily. His lips emitted a few groans from exhaustion. Suddenly his eyes became cloudy. Jin roared and charged forward. From the shadows, poisonous whispers echoed like tearing apart the mind. Useless, you're so weak, what can you even do? What an idiot, he doesn't understand his situation. You're the disgrace of the clan. Born from the same mother, yet you are the greatest shame. Murakan appeared before him, growling, "What did I tell you, you cursed bastard? I told you if you tried to release your sword without enough dark energy, you'd pay the price right. Are you planning to kick the bucket after being intoxicated by that dark energy? Get up. If you lose your mind, you're beyond help." Jin trembled, trying to get up, his words still echoing. Didn't you already know what to do? He closed his eyes tightly, forcing himself to meditate. Jin muttered, "Release the dark energy." Then he spat out blood and silently thought, the reason it's being swept away by surrounding dark energy is why I can't properly release my own dark energy. I can't let it be swept away again. Let's try again. Jin forced himself to take a deep breath, slow his heartbeat, calm down once more again. Then suddenly his breathing became steady. He sighed, his chest feeling lighter. Have I gotten through it? The pain was gone, but that made him worried. My body feels normal, but I feel filled with dark energy. It won't affect my movement, so I need to get Mesa back. Jin heard a strange noise and asked, "Who's there?" A shy, trembling young man replied, please don't kill me." Jin was a bit surprised. Are you Kinzolo? So there are still a few survivors. Samber startled and denied, "No, I'm not him." Quickly raising both hands to surrender, "I am Samber Vin of the Vin clan in the kingdom." Jin immediately recognized and softly introduced. "So it's you. I'm Jin John Candon. I was ordered to find you." Relieved like a burden lifted, he exclaimed joyfully, "John Candon! Oh my, you're someone from the John Candon family." Jin was helpless. I almost forgot this mission because of Kinzolo. I feel a bit guilty because he's very happy. Samber was extremely grateful, almost shouting, "I will never forget this debt." Jin, carrying the sleeping Mesa, replied shortly, "It's nothing, we get paid to do this, let's go home now." On the way, he suddenly got curious. Anyway, how did the Kim Zello group manage to kidnap him? We thought we had to find a missing person. Samber lowered his voice, a bit embarrassed. I followed my lover here. Jin was surprised. Your lover ran away. He scratched his cheek a bit shyly. No, actually, my lover died 2 years ago. But from her face to her voice, even the 2 moles on her wrist, everything is exactly like when she was alive. It sounds crazy, but it's the truth. There's no way I'm mistaken. Hearing that Jin fell into thought, everything's identical, sounds like the actions of Booba, the shapeshifter they kidnapped Samber, probably for money. Does Booba have a connection with the Kinzello group? This is the second time I've run into him. I have a bad feeling. I should meet him face to face to see what kind of person he is. He continued thinking, calculating step by step. His repair workshop must be in the capital of the Coreno Formula territory. I should find an opportunity while still in the intermediate training class. Behind them. Bo bowed his head very low, his voice choked up. Thank you for listening without thinking I was crazy. He clasped his hands gratefully, tears streaming down. My clan will soon send reinforcements, so let's head back. You even agreed to train the night guards just for someone as small as me. Jin just glanced slightly, thinking silently. It's not for you, it's for Mesa. Zambo kept expressing, Lord Jin, I will remember this meeting for the rest of my life. You barely cared and just replied, okay. The sun is beginning to rise. He added, if you need any help, just say so. Jin replied with his usual indifferent tone, I will. Julie smiled brightly, proudly, saying, Congratulations on completing your first mission, young master. Your nanny is very happy. You only replied softly. Thank you, Julie kindly said. You must be tired. I've prepared a bath. Jin nodded still, as attentive as ever. Feeling the gaze from earlier, you stepped forward and reached out to stroke the cat. Look at this. Nabi, were you well behaved while I was gone? Suddenly it bit your hand. Jin reflexively threw it far away. The rule rang out. Throwing animals is not allowed. Murakhan is a dragon, so it's fine, you shouted. What the hell bit me, Murakhan, now with a lump on his head, fluffing his fur angrily. Are you crazy? Got a screw loose? It lunged forward, scratching, clawing, while scolding me. Remember I told you not to release soul energy. How many times have I warned you that you could die? All for your own good. Jin tried to resist. Wait, listen to me. But the cat form faded, revealing Murakhan in anger. He grabbed you and shook you hard. What the hell is there to listen to? What's more important than the life of the only person who signed a contract with Sodereth? Julie quickly intervened. Lord Murakhan, the young master, just returned. He lowered his voice. Step aside, strawberry cake, this is serious. She reluctantly replied, I understand, turning to Jin. Murakhan continued like thunder. A cadet was kidnapped right before my eyes. Could I just stand by blinking? I was worried she might be in danger. What about the pendant with you? Is it just decoration? Its meaning is 100 times greater than just hanging around your neck. You adjusted your shirt veins, bulging as you argued. That's such a waste. Who knows when I'll face a much stronger enemy? He became even more shocked, wasteful. Julie interjected helplessly. Lord Murakhan. Diane, calmly. Is this really that shocking? He seemed driven mad. Damn, brat. You frowned, slightly, puzzled. Wait, but how do you know I awakened the sword? He snorted coldly. Your soul energy increased from 3 stars to almost 4 stars. I'm not blind. Diane tried to sense the energy flow, clearly startled softly. I really feel full of energy. It turns out I've leveled up. Murakhan spoke sharply. You should be grateful to Sodereth for still keeping you alive. He pointed to the blue flame flickering in your hand and spoke slowly. Among the 10 people who experienced soul energy overload, well now, 11, never mind. Among all 9 who died, Jin was a bit curious if he could identify one of the 2 people who survived. The first clan head, Murakhan, pointed to himself nonchalantly. That's not me. Tama must be dead, you were surprised, but waved it off with little concern. So you and I aren't much different. Don't worry, I don't want to go through that kind of pain again. I'm going to take a bath now. He roared angrily. That brat strawberry cake, you should starve him until he comes to his senses. Julie calmly avoided, I'll take my leave to prepare food for the young master. So Murakhan was left muttering to himself pitifully, strawberry cake, that kid is enviable. In a luxurious room, a cold voice rang out. Jin fought and defeated a warrior of the White Wolf clan. How could such nonsense happen? Someone answered, of course it's nonsense. They were just some bandits disguised as wolves. Mew was surprised and suspicious. How could a rookie 3-star knight kill a White Wolf clan member? On Dan Kan Den. The 9th generation of the Dan Kan Den family smiled mysteriously. Actually, there is a way to do that. The guy Jin faced was probably pretty weak. Mew Ran Tanden, the 8th generation of the Ran Kanden family, immediately retorted, but it still makes no sense, and is even harder to believe. Even Mom trusts its outward appearance. Her eyes glanced over with a hidden meaning. Is that right? Or is it Tona here? Tona and the 2 guys quickly forced a smile and joined in, of course. But when Anne looked away, Tona whispered softly, Do you really think Jin killed him? Tona replied quietly, He's a monster, but that's going too far. Then he said loudly in frustration, The issue isn't whether he killed the White Wolf tribe member, but that he's about to join the intermediate training class. The other hesitated, then nodded in agreement. Both unconsciously imagined the terrifying look he'd have if Jin joined the intermediate class. It'd be the end of us. His voice echoed in their heads. Should I hit you 2 with a sword or with my fists? Both of them turned pale, their faces filled with despair, as if a rock was hanging over their heads. Mew smiled faintly. What are you whispering about? Is moving to the intermediate class really that scary? Tona brothers said in unison, of course not. She turned her head, smiling mockingly. Just be honest with your big sisters. Suddenly her gaze turned cold and terrifying because what I hate most is the lies from deceitful mouths. They make me want to cut that tongue off entirely. The 2 of them trembled and whispered, We're very afraid of Jin, and slowly offered, Do you want me to help you? They looked puzzled how the 2 brothers gradually became excited when she said, We'll specially lend you some slaves to use. The intermediate class of the Black Clan is essentially a survival battle for those qualified, including the number of novice soldiers ranging from 3 to 5 stars, including newcomers and those who have been stuck in the class for over 10 years. Mew and An have gathered a small number of repeating novice soldiers and have been torturing them like slaves. She said coldly, "You can use them to destroy Jin. We hate him too." The two sisters glanced at each other, their lips curling slyly. "But if you don't handle this carefully, you better anticipate the consequences, my dear little brother." Meanwhile, Jin had just stepped out after a shower, feeling relieved. He thought he had succeeded in his first mission, so joining the intermediate class must have been decided. On the other hand, I have also reached the 4th star soul energy level to use energy efficiently. I need to reach 6th star swordsmanship within at most 5 years. 6th star swordsman means becoming an excellent swordsman, and starting from 7 stars, one is considered a swordmaster. But that's only special for ordinary people. From 8 stars onwards, one is called extraordinary, and everything changes completely. Moreover, among over 2 billion people on the continent, fewer than 100 are 9 or 10 stars, and only one has surpassed those standards, the Asian god of the night domain Origin. Jin clenched his fist with determination. In this life I will reach the Origin level, nothing beyond that. He sat down calmly, considering his next steps. So the first bridge to cross is self-improvement. The Tona twins are already in the intermediate class. I anticipated that even without truly experiencing it. Once I step into the intermediate class, I will be overseen by all the brothers and sisters, not just the Tona twins. Jin picked up a cake as if hearing Julie's voice. "Eat up, young master, you've been helpless too many times." The beginner class was full of kids at the same level, so the atmosphere there was quite friendly. But for the intermediate class, there's no room for softness where strength and skill are all that matter. And what I need to do is clear. His eyes flickered with a cold light, but contained iron determination. I will dominate the intermediate class with strength. There was a knock on the door. Rosa was focused, writing something, when she said, "Come in." Jin entered, greeted, then asked his mother, "Did you call me?" She sat upright behind the desk and calmly replied, "Yes." Rosa slowly continued, "I heard you completed the mission safely, excellent results." Jin smiled briefly. "Thank you, Mom." Then he remembered. Right, according to Becho's report. Hearing this, Rosa suddenly became serious. "Did you refuse my offer to change rooms?" She folded her hands, leaning slightly forward, the atmosphere filling the room. "As you know, that room is only for those who might become the future head of the family. Since the old patriarch's time, when he was still a child, it's remained empty. From now on, you should use it," Dai replied coldly. "Thank you, Mom, but I won't accept it." Rosa frowned slightly. "Why?" He calmly explained. "It might be a good room, but in the end it's just a room, and to me that room seems a bit too much." She asked clearly, "So you really don't want it?" Jean nodded. "Yes, I've made my decision." Rosa was silent, her fingers tapping rhythmically on the table as she thought. Finally, she nodded gently. "All right, you may leave now." Jin bowed and left. "Yes, Mother." Left alone, Rosa rested her chin on her hand and sighed helplessly. "I can't tell if my youngest son is not greedy or if he's too ambitious. What I just mentioned is the Elder's room, the room reserved for the child who will take over the Black Guard in the future. The boy should know that the moment he steps into that room, he will receive support worthy of that place. But at the same time, he will become the target of other children who want to take it over. Surely the boy has realized that I am testing him. Now let's see how you behave in the intermediate class." Then he called his teammates and announced firmly, "Starting tomorrow, I will study in the intermediate class. And from the intermediate class, there will be many factions. Everyone will be considered part of my faction, and you all must endure all the pain and humiliation." He looked around, his voice lowering but steady. "But don't be afraid, I won't overlook them, and they will stop once I completely conquer the intermediate class." Jin ordered, "By then everyone must go together, or at least in groups of 3. Even if you don't train, avoid going around alone." "Got it!" Everyone responded clearly in unison. The next morning at School Z, the elder Black Guard of the 8-star Black Night Guard Siren's younger brother stepped forward and shouted, "Attention!" His voice thundered. "This year, 10 new recruits have joined us and 27 trainees have dropped out. Newcomers should learn the way of an intermediate cadet from their seniors. My job is to teach end-grade swordsmanship. Except for killing, all situations or accidents should be handled by yourselves." Dape suddenly shouted at the veterans. "What do I always teach?" They shouted back like a chant to pressure the newcomers. "The Black Guard does not need the weak." Jin sighed lightly. "Too loud, these words are full of malice aimed at discouraging us." Scanning the ranks, he suddenly recognized the familiar faces of the Tona brothers. But Jin's gaze quickly stopped at the one standing next to them. Cajun, the one standing beside them, seemed to be a long-time cadet. I don't think they recruited him themselves. I wonder if they received help from Mew and An. I'm sure they want to discourage the newcomers, but suddenly I move quietly and Mesa notices. I will show them they are wrong. Jin stepped forward, standing firmly before all the students. The Tona brothers were momentarily shocked. What the hell? Why is that crazy guy coming towards us? The other one tried to calm down. Don't be scared. From today, we have Mew and An backing us. He suddenly drew his sword. The cold steel flashed without warning. The blade swung down at Kajin. The Tona brothers were completely stunned. Jack was also surprised by the scene. Jin had cut off Kajin's right arm. Kajin staggered and collapsed, clutching his wound, screaming in pain. Jin sheathed his sword, his face calm as if he had just done something obvious. The one who needed warning. He coldly uttered, "Fetch a medic." But inside he was ice cold. Not for me, but for you all. Detona rushed forward, angrily shouting, "Jin, are you crazy? Why did you suddenly swing your sword like that?" He didn't even glance over, calmly asking the trembling cadet on the ground. "What's your name?" He replied, trembling. "I am Kajin Romello." Jin continued evenly. "Do you know why I cut you?" Detona hissed, drawing his sword and pointing it straight at Jin. "Hey, why are you ignoring us? Draw your sword again." Jin turned his head, his sharp gaze cutting across him. "Brother, don't you see I'm talking to Kajin? I'll accept a fight later, but for now be quiet." The two Tona couldn't hold back and stepped forward, growling, "You bastard! How dare you behave like that after cutting our cadet?" As he spoke, he suddenly realized he had misspoken. Jin smirked slightly, a sarcastic smile clear, "Our cadet. So this friend here is on your side. Your brother only cut him because he looked at me with bloodthirsty eyes." Around them, the cadets whispered, "Is this a power struggle?" He was observed from the start and smiled faintly. Instead of discouraging my younger brother, they were taught a lesson. From what the Tona brothers said, Kajin had openly sided with them, so Jin's action was not just a random act, but part of a long-standing tradition of the Black Clan. In the power struggle, he just did something very bold. Suddenly, with a serious face, his voice rang loudly across the arena for all cadets to hear. "I am Jin John Ken. You can point your swords at me or ambush me like just now. But if any of you show even the slightest dissent, I will not hesitate to cut you down like before." At this moment, Z's voice was deep and thunderous. Jin Jan Ken, the youngest son, 13th in the family, turned respectfully and replied, "Yes, elder." He stepped out from the shadows, eyes bloodshot. "Do you think you have the right to behave like that in front of me?" He responded coolly, "Yes." Z asked again why. Jin just said one phrase that stunned everyone. "Because I don't think I just fought two Tona brothers. I fought you, elder." Z's brows immediately furrowed as his aura exploded. His hands opened, gathering power around him. "Fighting me is interesting." Saying this, the sword in Z's hand flashed brightly, then pointed straight at Jin. "Explain yourself. Depending on your answer, I might take your head right here, right now." Jin responded firmly, his voice cold as steel. "You chose a very special way to intimidate the cadets even though I'm in this class. I considered it when you attacked me." Power began to condense. He swung a straight strike as fast as lightning. The sword aura brushed past Jin's face at such speed that his hair flew wildly. A thin streak of blood scratched his cheek, but Jin's sharp eyes didn't blink. R, with a deep voice mixed with curiosity and challenge, said, "So you're unhappy about me intimidating the cadets, which caused this mess?" Jin still stood firm, responding except for me being unhappy. That's how it is. R wondered aloud, "If so, why did you swing your sword at me instead of injuring a cadet?" Jin answered decisively, "Because I haven't beaten you yet. If I knew I could win, I wouldn't target Kajin or my brothers, but you." Z's hand began to summon his sword again. Sword aura surged, but his voice remained steady like a calm before the storm. "Seems like you don't value your life much. Or do you just rely too much on being the son of the clan leader?" Jin replied briefly, "No." Every word he spoke silenced the crowd. "I don't think doing nothing because the opponent is stronger is what a Black Clan member should do. Losing one's life is just a moment, but honor is forever, isn't it?" R paused briefly, then suddenly burst out laughing. "So foolish! A reckless person like you is so foolish that even this old man here is laughing?" The smile faded. He stopped and said, "All right then, I'll give you a chance. You truly deserve to live in the Black Clan." R turned to all the cadets, his voice booming like thunder. "Cadets must not forget today. What you witnessed today is the true spirit of the Black Clan. This brat shows us today what it means to be a sword disciple of our clan." He roared, giving orders, "Cadets fight!" Don't forget your true nature. Z lowered his voice to end today's session and dismissed them. Training will resume tomorrow. Everyone answered in unison, "Yes, sir." On the other side, Haytona bowed his head, bitterness rising. Damn it. Nevertheless, Jin stepped forward with a friendly reminder. I'll give you some advice as a younger brother. Maybe now you're afraid of the older siblings, but will that be the case in the future? Don't just look at what's right in front of you. Seeing far and wide will be better for you. When he returned home, Julie eagerly came out to greet the young master. You're back early. Jin just stepped in and called Julie. She replied respectfully, Yes, young master. He said something that made her pause. I've begun the hierarchy battle with the Tona twins, but I think my two older sisters, Anne and Miu, are backing them. Julie seemed confused. Are those two really like that? Jin recounted today's events. I injured a cadet on their side. After digging deeper, it seems he belongs to my sister's faction. Well, it's because he slipped up, now he's on their side. If she finds out about this, they'll go crazy. A mocking smile spread across your lips. First of all, he can't possibly have a 5-star knight on our side because they only recruit those weaker than themselves. Julie frowned slightly, but both young ladies were already the expectations. There's an unspoken rule that expectations only fight other expectations. Jin smiled calmly. It's fine. I'm actually quite happy that you've started disciplining me. This is a big secret among the sisters because they are all expectations. There's no reason for them to attack me. The only thing they can do is disrupt the distribution of my team members and the difficulty of missions using their expectation privileges, making it easier for me to get injured or killed. However, among the high-difficulty missions, there are quite a few solo missions. And on solo missions, no one supervises me, meaning I can use my full strength on those missions. Julie's eyes lit up with sudden understanding. If that's the case, then this is actually a good opportunity. Jin smiled excitedly. That's right, I just need to thank you all and improve my performance. Jin bent down, picked up Murakhan, and continued. And I'm sure bringing a cat along won't be a problem either. It rolled its eyes. Oh my gosh, you're still acting so nonchalant. But Murakhan, I'm not taking you on missions because I have another task for you. Murakhan tilted its head, sounding annoyed. Another task. It immediately asked what it was. Jin just smiled mysteriously. I'll tell you next time, so until then the two of us have to stay low-key. Julie also smiled and nodded slightly. Yes, young master. During training, Z's deep, hoarse voice rang out, Bring along the familiar pressure. Next, after the three of you complete the afternoon training session, you will be specially trained in a secret training ground only accessible to those with Black Snake bloodline. These are privileges reserved for purebloods like you, but don't expect the training to be easy. Understood, the young recruits replied in unison. Yes, sir. He continued, Our family's swordsmanship focuses on strength. It is destructive and fights decisively to win without hesitation. All the traits of the Black Snake lineage are reflected in our swordsmanship. There's no specific definition of our family's swordsmanship, though there are some unique and secret techniques only the elite learn. Jin glanced quietly to a corner. His older sisters looked quite annoyed already. He emphasized that this swordsmanship has no specific form, not even in footwork or rules. This is the biggest difference between the Black Snake family and other clans. Suddenly, he asked if anyone knows why our family's swordsmanship has no fixed form. You immediately raised your hand to answer confidently because of the physical differences and the talents the Black Snake family possesses. Z replied, Exactly. Being Black Snake means you have noble blood. You have a body and swordsmanship talent beyond what ordinary people can imagine. Even if somewhat unorthodox, you are still far superior to normal people. He smirked cunningly. What you've learned so far has been easy and simple. Now I will give each of you a steel ball. Dean took it, holding it suspiciously. What is this? Is there something inside the steel piece? Z explained specifically. It's called a clear stone because when you hit it, it makes a clear sound. He began bringing the sword close to the ball. Now I will let you hear the 3 types of sounds the clear stone creates. Listen carefully. Then Z lightly tapped the ball with the sword, producing a piercing sound, sharp as a blade cutting the eardrum, causing many to wince. What's that? He asked coldly. An unpleasant sound, right? This time Z tightened his grip, swung the sword hard against it, producing the next sound. But the sound was not piercing. It was clear and resonant like metal singing in the air, impressing everyone. He slowly said, As you just heard, the clear stone produces different sounds depending on the force used to strike it. If you don't strike hard enough, it makes a very dull sound. And if you strike it just hard enough, the sound will be amazing. Jin immediately understood. I get it. This is a training exercise so that every time we strike it, this sound appears, meaning it's to train the ability to control power, mental strength, and focus. Considering the physical capabilities of the Black Clan, this was a perfect exercise, though quite simple. But even so, this is just an exercise of continuously striking the clear stone. It's too safe to be a special training reserved only for the Black Clan family. Z raised the sword again. Now for the final sound. He curiously wondered, so what is the third sound? I definitely heard a rustling sound from inside the clear stone like a piece of steel. At the moment, he dealt a fierce blow to the orb. Jin's eyes flashed, "No way!" He immediately rushed forward, telling the two Tona brothers to lie down. The blade chopped down, splitting the Tona steel orb. Immediately, a horrendous explosion erupted. Jin braced himself and pushed both of them away. In the air, fierce flames flared up and then left behind a thick cloud of smoke and dust. Everyone collapsed, only faint groans could be heard. Tona vaguely held his head. What just happened? Z praised Jin. The youngest seems to have good instincts. He leisurely explained, if you strike the clear stone too hard, it will explode like just now. Z smiled slyly and said, all right, you all. Now know everything you need to let's start training. Seeing that Jin was unharmed, he complimented, after Luna, you're the first person not injured after that explosion. Z stroked his chin thoughtfully. Most of your brothers have been taught by me. Simple drills like this are just a formality anyway. I don't expect anyone to survive the explosion. Suddenly, Jin cut in. Sorry. He raised his hand like a good student and asked straightforwardly, so how did second sister Luna dodge the explosion? He heard the question and was somewhat reluctant to answer honestly. I'm afraid you'll be disappointed when you hear this. All your siblings managed it, but you didn't pay attention. It's all right? Seeing Jin calm, Z continued. To be honest, Luna didn't dodge it like you did. Your sister was also hit by the explosion just like the other kids. At that time, her eyes were blinded by the light of the explosion. She couldn't avoid it in time. Z recalled how surprised he was back then, but she wasn't injured because it was too powerful. Hearing his story, the three of them looked dumbfounded. Sternly reminded, from today onwards, you three must train with the pure stone every afternoon. Until you can master it enough to hear its sound in any situation, then you can stop. Understand? They each replied in turn, yes, sir. Then the scene shifted to a room bathed in warm sunlight. Tai-mun brought afternoon tea into the room, calling out to Miss Luna. She looked over and gently replied to the nanny, thank you. The woman placed the cup and reminded her about what she had instructed regarding the children speaking to her last time. Luna politely asked again about the siblings' attempts to assassinate Chisao Tai-mon. Sitting down on the chair next to her, she told her everything. Now Mrs. Miyu and an already suspect me. They also know well about young Master Du Yen, so that's very likely. After hearing this, she analyzed the situation. Their actions are a bit reckless, but without any purpose. Could they be crazy enough to try to assassinate in the Thunder Dance arena? Anyway, they are banned from participating in the inheritance battle with John Candon. Luna's expression briefly saddened when mentioning them. Moreover, if Father knew their plan, this house would be turned upside down. Their lives would also be in danger. Tai-mun gently asked her, do you think there's a chance young Master Jin lied? What if it was just a misunderstanding? Luna also seriously thought of her younger brother. The boy is already 10 years old, so I think both cases are possible. Besides, we've been investigating that incident for 5 years and haven't found anything. I don't think Jin is lying. She recalled her younger brother's cold, calm, and scary expression when he was little. I don't know, but I almost died back then. The boy was very wary of me. The more she thought, the more Luna felt something was off. She tightly gripped the teacup. It's not like the boy just suddenly felt that way. I think it was intuition telling him the boy sensed something. Hearing this, the woman asked for her opinion. So, should I investigate Mrs. Miyu first? Luna put down the cup and asked for help. Yes, please, I'm counting on you. Whenever we reach a dead end like this, I get really worried. This makes me have a bad feeling. Tai-mun worried. I'm the one who should be worried. I'm afraid you'll get hurt by your siblings again. She smiled faintly, reassuring the nanny. I passed that age of 13 a long time ago. You don't need to worry about me. Speaking of this, Luna suddenly wondered, by the way, is Jin doing well? Tai-mun understood what she was curious about regarding Lord Z's training. What is it? She propped her chin and replied, it's about time the boy shows me the results of his training. Luna smiled gently, imagining the training scene. He'll probably get a little hurt by Thwanthak, but he'll do fine. Watching the boy grow up makes me really happy. The next day began 4 hours of afternoon training. Jin was sweating all over, panting, thinking to himself, "Of all the training sessions I've been through, this one really makes me feel terrible." Jack sat watching the data and patiently ordered, "Take a 5-minute break." Jin held his sword and began to meditate, but kept thinking, "At first I thought this training was to help me control my power and will, but the truth is different. From the start, I had to focus on trying to suppress my light energy." He remembered how Rhett had struck Thwanthak, determined to be able to destroy Thwanthak without using it like him. Now I still lack basic strength. Jin's hands were weak from hours of training, barely able to hold steady. I have to train to make my light energy stronger. These thoughts kept appearing in his head, trying to calm himself, sighing, "I have to train to clearly hear Thwantan and easily destroy Thwantak." After a moment of scattered thoughts, Jin tried to restrain himself. "Don't rush, stay calm. This is just what my siblings had to do before reaching adulthood in their past lives. I'm sure I can do it too." Reet opened his eyes, glancing at the three of them, his gaze fiery red as if seeing through everything. He praised silently, "All three are doing quite well, gradually improving." Haytona gritted his teeth and cursed, "You just said it cracked." Daytona refused to back down despite trembling and barely standing. "Where did it crack?" Then Z evaluated Jin, who was focusing on meditation but was especially outstanding. He felt satisfied lightly, stroking his chin with a sly smile. Maybe he can break Luna's record. Night fell. Someone's voice broke the silence. "How ridiculous!" Look at the two Tona brothers passed out on the floor. Z instructed, "Give this to your brothers. If tomorrow they want to faint again, they don't need to come here." Jin obediently followed the order. "Understood." He crossed his arms, watching the two brothers being supported and Jin's retreating figure silently judging the twins. "Tona fainted later than I thought. After all, Rankanden is still Rankanden." Watching Jin confidently leave, he thought silently, and the youngest child thought about this. Jack was a little resentful, shouted loudly, "Why is he the youngest?" He was frustrated and regretful. If he had been born 10 years earlier, he could have become a genius who swallowed the entire Dankanden family. That damn older brother, what now? Such a pity. Rhett was heartbroken, sitting gloomily. "No matter how I think about it, it's such a pity, such a pity." 1 month later, 5/17/95, at the intermediate cadet training site, someone standing high shouted loudly for attention. A person clearly read the announcement. "The first mission of the year for the intermediate class has been released. Cadets are called to step forward. The first mission is to protect the personnel. The ones you need to protect are new employees of Minch Smithy Company. The chosen ones are Houston Padding." Everyone stood neatly in line, listening to the next announcement. "The third mission is to subdue monsters. The target to subdue is Oak." Looking at the long announcement, the person suddenly paused. "The mission is in the unprotected Corano territory. The chosen ones." He looked at the paper, hesitating for a long time, as if he couldn't believe his eyes. Then the called names, Stunned Bellhop, and Mesa Mesa Bellhop, Scott, Ty Mung, Kiko, Eddington, Sierra, Vince, David, 10 people. After reading the announcement, he rolled up the paper and reminded, "There are a total of 25 Oki." She frowned, unsure what to think. He still reminded Ok usually move in packs, so be determined to carry out the mission. Then finished with, "That's all, Beto will give you more details, goodbye." Daytona asked the person next to him, "New guys going to subdue Oaks?" The person beside him sneered, "What can they do? Half of us are definitely dead." Mayo laughed mockingly. "Better prepare coffins and incense." Ka-Jin, though helpless, arrogantly joined in. "There's still some time before the mission. We still have time to write a will, huh?" The blonde-haired guy with an orange face pretended to pray, "Or maybe you can go beg young Master Jin to save us. We're so scared." I got angry. "What did you just say?" Misa quickly grabbed his hand to stop him. "Ignore it. We haven't defeated them yet, and the mission hasn't even started. Being injured would be a big problem." He refused to back down, but Misa, missing the young master at this moment, couldn't help but shout, "Shut up!" and stand still. "Have you forgotten this is the Dankanden family?" Small but resilient. Standing firmly among the crowd, he said, I have to carry out the assigned mission and return after completing it. Mesa was angry, but his eyes showed a fierce, strong resolve. That's the only way I can defeat them. Haytona gritted his teeth, raising the two arms holding swords high above his head. Seconds later, he quickly lowered his hands decisively. Cracks appeared on the top surface of the orb. Haytona was shocked, mouth agape and eyes wide, shouting, I haven't had time to focus! Suddenly, a loud explosion sounded along with smoke filling the air. Still, they could clearly hear hateful curses. Damn it! He shouted loudly the name of his close brother. Tona saw no response. Haytona continued to call out loudly for Jin's help. His voice was very urgent at this moment. Jin instinctively turned around and saw a bright object rushing toward him. Jin quickly dodged and gripped his weapon tightly. Haytona finally regained his composure and alertness. He anxiously asked Jin if he was okay. I didn't mean to. Although I was slightly hurt, I politely replied that I was fine. Can you take this somewhere else? Haytona quickly complied. Sorry you watched the backs of the two brothers Detona and Haytona and thought silently that a month had passed since you started training with Thuan Tak. Those two brothers have already blown it away faster than I expected. Jin absent-mindedly looked at his palm and wondered what feeling he had just experienced. His spirit was suddenly stretched tight like a string. His pupils widened as if the direction of the iron stone had missed. Jin panicked, realizing it was sucked along the arrow's path, so he fiddled with the stone in front of him, and thought that now, if the iron stone flew here, he could probably dodge it easily. His lips pressed tightly, brows furrowed as if they wanted to stick together, eyes focused and mind intensely concentrated. Could this feeling be related to Sister Luna's training? Jin slowly gripped his sword, eyes focused on the Thuan Tak stone, and told himself before he forgot he would repeat that feeling once more. At that moment, a powerful shout rang out, Z paying close attention and seriously watching them. His tone somewhat harsh. You have been assigned a mission. It's unclear what he told them, but the two brothers clenched their teeth in fear. The event was the event, and afterward one collapsed. The other looked up and covered his face, both yelling resentfully, Why does it have to be the Bayman Empire? I already feel nauseous and bored. I hate event clothes, they're so tight. Z, facing their miserable state, spoke soberly. My condolences to you all. He deepened their misery. Thanks to you, the others don't have to dance at the Empire's banquet hall. But suddenly Z's tone changed, as if interrogating eyes narrowed angrily. Even if it's an event, it's still a mission. How dare you complain? With that attitude again, let me show you what it really means to want to die. The two brothers straightened their backs and said in unison, Sorry, Uncle. At this moment, Jin still kept a calm expression, but he already began to have some thoughts. Sister Mu and An must have malicious intent to punish brothers who are not good at swordsmanship. It's hard to believe they were sent to the Bayman Empire event. He continued loudly reminding, because this is a major event that even the Black Dancer House can hardly refuse. There will be very strong people coming there for entertainment. Come and watch them to see if you can learn anything. The two brothers Detona and Haytona tried to speak loudly to hide their boredom. Yes. Then he began to talk with the person who had been silent until now, and Jin heard his name called, immediately replying, Yes, Uncle. Z read the lines in the mission book. You are assigned to assassinate a key figure. The target is the plaything of the owner of the ice castle Talaris, one of that woman's lovers. Z looked up straight into Jin's eyes and asked, You know about the ice castle and its owner, right? He responded quickly, Yes, Uncle. The ice castle is just a huge tower rising in the sea west of the continent. The owner of the ice castle is the person who possesses that place. The 51st owner of the ice castle Talaris is nicknamed the Spider Star of the Abyss. She is famous for cruelly torturing anyone who dares touch her lover. Shortly after, Z handed Jin a file and added, The ice castle is an independent force beyond the control of the Black Dancer House or Zippo. You know how strong the ice castle and its owner are, right? The assassination target is Ankara Chandler. Currently, members of the ice castle serve as his bodyguards, and he is in the lawless region of Mammoth. Before Jin could react, the two brothers Haytona and Detona widened their eyes in shock. What, Mammoth? Afraid of getting scolded, the two cautiously whispered to each other so quietly, If you have to go to Mammoth, then this is the bodyguard knight's mission. Though Jin was talented, this seemed excessive. At the same time, he gently looked at him and took the initiative to speak, Uncle, I have a question. Jin raised his hand to stroke his chin skeptically. The one issuing this mission is the Chandler family. So is the Chandler family wanting to kill their own descendant? Jack crossed his arms, nodded, and affirmed. That's right. It seems the Chandler family has tried everything to bring him back, but failed. They probably think it's better to kill him than let him reveal family secrets. So do you think you can carry out this mission? Hearing the answer he wanted, Jin declared firmly, I will do it. He was a bit surprised by this resolute reaction. Why you? But Z didn't ask directly. He deliberately held back what he wanted to say in his thoughts. Doesn't this guy know about the ice castle in Mammoth? Why did he agree immediately? I was thinking of telling Kai Van if he resisted. Finally, he ended the exchange with a sigh. Well, decisiveness is good. Z lingered to give a few more instructions. The three of you will depart in 2 days. The two brothers, Datona and Haytona, still couldn't believe that Uncle Jin was really going to Mammoth. He replied in a grumpy, annoyed tone, if he wants to, why stop him? Afternoon training will be canceled until the mission ends, and personal training will be limited so it doesn't interfere with the mission. The three responded in turn. Yes, that's fine, Uncle. Suddenly, Haytona became very gentle, softly calling, Hey, Jin, youngest uncle. Jin turned to look and asked, What? Haytona hesitated slightly. If necessary, just say you are from the Black Dancer House. No one will dare touch you. Seeing the two brothers encouraging him so enthusiastically and sincerely, Jin began to doubt, worried about his sibling in many ways because their words hit the sore spot. The two immediately denied, No, we always care about you. That's right, we'll deal with you, so don't die or else. He had already turned his back, but still replied to his brothers, I'll change my mind when I return. After that, Jin decisively stabbed straight into the pure stone and lifted it up. Tona and Haytona hugged each other fearfully, both confused, and no one dared to say a word. Suddenly, he smiled brightly, curiously asking casually, Do you like the older sisters or little Z? Just then, he suddenly called seriously, Is that Haytona or Tona? The two cousins replied, Yes. He looked at Jin's retreating back and deliberately reminded the two nephews, like the youngest, Say prepare and don't provoke him before we're strong enough if you want to live long. 2 days later, the subordinates sent off young Master Jin Yu will be going to the lawless region of Mammoth. He only replied briefly with one word, Uh-huh. Seeing Jin's slightly changed appearance now, someone asked confusedly, But young master, what about your hair color? He explained his intention, I will disguise myself. I cannot be recognized as a low-class commoner with a voice. In response, I understand. Then Jin continued to convey his message to everyone, especially Mesa. My mission is different from yours, so I will go through a different teleportation gate, and I have to go through your migration procedures. Is it a containment mission, right? She answered. Yes. Looking at the sad faces before him, he asked, surprisedly, Why do you all look so down? Is something wrong? Mesa replied on behalf of the group. Nothing. We just want to say goodbye. Seeing the atmosphere quiet down a bit, Jin laughed and said, Goodbye, as if this is the last time we'll meet. Well, if unlucky, maybe some will lose their lives, but worrying won't change anything, right? So let's focus on what's in front of us to put everyone at ease. He gently said, I will definitely come back, don't worry too much. Seeing Jin pat his shoulder, Bellop smiled awkwardly. Young master, please be careful. He replied gently, See you later. Then he stepped closer to Julie and instructed Cute, right? Protect them well. Maraka quickly answered on his behalf. Don't worry, I'm the teacher. Unexpectedly, Jin quickly interrupted him. Don't get caught and don't stand out too much. He got teased, then went crazy, baring his teeth and cursing. Oh man, kid. You're the one who should be careful, don't get caught, and don't be overconfident just because of the disguise layer. He didn't care, just left one sentence, I'm off, Julie. After escorting Jin outside, he sighed, Lord Maraka isn't here, so it's going to be very quiet. He comforted, consider it a rest, I'll bring back gifts. She worried a little and reminded, But I'm still worried about the assassination mission on the castle lord's lover. I know the young master isn't a mid-level cadet, but Mammoth is still a very dangerous place. Please be careful on your journey. Jin placed one foot on the horse and replied to Julie. All right, I will return. After finishing, he left. A few days later, Jin arrived at the lawless region of Mammoth, a gathering place for the lowest criminals. In an old dilapidated house, Thonk suddenly stormed in and shouted, Hey, you bastards! I just got here. Why no greetings? In response, a somewhat mocking voice said, "Who's this?" "I'm Thonk, huh? Running away again," he replied angrily. "That's right, I'm back." The place he just entered was the sanctuary of undisciplined criminals rumored to be heavily influenced by those terrible people. Just then, suddenly, there was a suspicious creaking sound outside the door. Thonk and those inside turned to look. Outside the door stood Jin confidently. He glared at them and continued his thoughts. Because this place is influenced by those guys. Not even grass can grow here. A few tough guys stared at Jin and asked, "Huh, is there really a newcomer?" He walked straight inside, coldly tossed a coin, then requested cold water and something simple. His arrogant and disdainful action made a few of them hiss, "Look at this guy." Thong curiously came over, putting his hand on Jin's shoulder to ask new guy with a big mouth, "Who are you?" A former 9th-level renegade knight. Was he kind at first? Then his true nature as a fake and a gangster started to show. "Hey, new guy, you should learn our laws if you're new here. Now be quiet, kneel down, and lick my toes." As soon as Thonk finished speaking, Jin grabbed his collar. Just seconds later, the table was stained with a few drops of red blood. He slammed the table, stood up, his voice threatening. "How much longer do you want me to wait?" All the others were stunned for a moment, none able to react. Then suddenly they all burst out laughing. "We're done for, I knew this day would come." Jin shrugged helplessly and thought, "As the master said, this place is full of real crazies. To be accepted by these criminals, you have to show them skill and courage." His fingers clenched tightly around the small knife as he stepped firmly toward the group. "He has helped me a lot in this life, and the last I hope one day to repay my master." He first seated the person at the bar counter. The waiter brought out a plate of cakes and a glass of water. He seemed more polite than those thugs and spoke quite properly. "I'm not poisoning you." Jin replied without any emotion. "Poison is forbidden here, at least I know that." The owner began to ask more questions. "You're young, but know a lot. Do you have family here?" Jin answered bluntly. "That's none of your business." His expression clearly showed he disliked Jin's attitude. So he asked another question. "What do you want my tui? I have this dish that's doing great selling out these days, or are you looking for someone?" Jin didn't even glance and answered curtly, "Later." But then he softened his tone. "Is there anyone named Zippo here?" The owner crossed his arms, closed his eyes, trying to remember, but had to say no. "I'm sure." Jin didn't press further and asked, "I see, if so, can you suggest a few places to stay overnight? Preferably places without bug infestations." He thoughtfully directed Jin to a spot that fit those criteria, a guest house named Moon Well to the west of the city, where the king of Mamet stays, so no need to cause a commotion there like just now.